Well, somebody say hello, 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 and welcome to the Cup, the Currently Unnamed Podcast, where we put the real and the tea in reality, and where you can always come to us first to quench your thirst. I'm your girl Lana, your resident evil diva, and I'm here to get the tea, spill the tea, and drink the tea because you know I love me some tea. Her. And if you have some tea, you know what to do. Hit me up. Today is a very special day and a very special thing going on because we have a very special guest in the building. And so I just feel like it would be hmm, it would be a little correct if we just kept up with the thing. First things
Ooh.
first. We're going purple because I guess those purple, which is why I went purple. I got my purple fan. And you know what? I went so far. I even got grape juice as to drink for the occasion. I got purple drink because, baby, I like to represent. So I got my grape juice here, which I love. But if I was drinking some tea, which I probably should be because I will be drinking it out of my cup mug. And you could get your cup mug at lanagcreations.etsy.com, where we do ship domestically in the US for sure, Canada for sure, Mexico for sure. Internationally, we still working on it. We working on it. I'm one step close. I think I'm almost there. I'm working on a deal to get it done. So we are one step close to getting it done. But once I get it done, then it will be no more excuses. But if you're in the US and North America, get your cup mug or your cup merch, period.
Well, I'm David Healy, and I don't have a cute intro, and I don't really have a cute shirt either, because when we do these interviews, I don't really like to wear a different drag queen shirt. So I would love to get some merch at some point. I would gladly purchase that.
Mm-hmm.
But in the meantime, I'm just wearing the shirt I bought in Bali. So I guess it is a
Work.
cute shirt, right? Right.
It is a cute shirt. But
But I'm just
I,
oh, that's my cup
oh,
mug.
go ahead.
I'm
God
just
dang.
drinking water.
Talking, David.
I
I'm so
know.
shocked. You surprise me every week. But who are you? I kind of mentioned the special guest, but who are you?
That's Logan, right?
Oh,
I'm pretty sure that's Logan. I see a beard.
uh, I see a beard.
Logan got some hair out of nowhere all of a sudden. He grew up some hair. No, I'm afraid I'm not Logan. I'm his official doppelganger, though.
Absolutely.
Um, you might have recognized me from a very, tiny season in a very tiny country called Drag Race Belgique. And I happen to be the runner-up of season two. Can you
Woo!
believe? I personally cannot believe it, but still I am. I am sitting here at home in good old Brussels, and I am drinking tea because I figured it would be on brand.
Her.
Herbal tea though, because it's late and I'm an old lady, so I'll take it easy for tonight. I'm drinking it in a lovely cup, which is not the cup, but it is a cup
There you
from
go.
Cabaret Mademoiselle,
Oh.
which you may or may not have heard of. If you haven't, you definitely should.
Mhm.
This is where I come from, and this is where our queen, Alvilda, comes from, and my sister Lulu Velvet, and Drag Quen, and Athena Sokalikis, and Naso Carlson, and Mademoiselle Boop. Well,
Wow.
Wow.
I would say half
Okay,
the
I
cast
didn't
of
know
Drag Race
all of
Belgique. So there
yeah.
you
I
go.
knew a few of those names came from there, but not all of them. Wow.
I mean, that's
Mm.
amazing. Look, a plethora of amazing drag artists. We love that.
Mhm.
We love that. So, first, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your time so we can talk about all things Lviv because we want to know all things you. We want to know where you came from, how you started, your journey to drag race, your journey in drag race, your journey after drag race, because you you are a runner up. Like out of
Mhm.
all the queens there, you were in second place. Like what?
Yeah, not only was I a finalist, I was second to first. So yeah, definitely. I was the very first surprise to be honest, but extremely proud as well. So trust me, I have a few things to say about all of that. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Mhm.
then let's start off with your journey to in the what brought you to drag? How did you get in drag? And what is your what before Drag Race happened? What were you doing? What was Veuve up to?
Well, my journey with drag is quite a long one, and it goes back very far away, very long ago. Um, 650 years earlier. Uh, Almost. No, I'm kidding.
I'm
I
gonna say
my
let's
very
fast forward a
first
little bit.
my very first experience with drag, I was 19 actually, and I was having that boyfriend in Paris, and that was my punk era, because yeah, that's kind of where I come from, like the punk background, living in a squat and whatever. That's how I first get got in touch with drag. My very first contact with people wearing, clothing from another gender. Those people were extremely free thinking and just didn't give much care about what they were wearing. Um, and that was quite enlightening back then. I just didn't know it existed, and my boyfriend at the time introduced me to all of that. Um, Turns out my boyfriend from the time actually transitioned and is now um, my ex-girlfriend. Uh, and it was mind-blowing to me to realize that there was a whole world that I had never heard of or had no notion about. And that was, ugh, I was 19, that's long ago. Let me get the math. It was 2005, which is a long way back. And that was before Drag Race even existed, by the way. So, yeah, quite a while ago. And little by little, meeting people, then getting interested in the whole art and discipline of drag and what we used to call oh, how would you translate that in English? Impersonation, basically. When I was young, we didn't call the drag queens drag queens. That was not a word, not in French. The drag queens were the Americans. They were the
Mhm.
vulgar kind with
Oh.
extravagant outfits and big wigs. In Belgium, in 2005, we were female impersonators. We were fishy, as we used to say, and we should not say anymore. We were extremely, we would pass. We were trying to pass.
Mhm.
So my first role models, oh, look who's there.
Mm.
My
Welcome back.
internet was coming for me today, but I am here. Hello, hi.
The internet said there can only be one Leviev here.
They did not
Exactly. I
want the
showed up
doppelganger
fashionably
here.
late. I showed up fashionably late because,
Can I just say, I don't see it. You all are right by each other. I don't see
And I me
it.
either. The more y'all together, I'm like, no. I don't see it.
no.
But anyway,
It's a
continue
funny
your
thing, though.
story.
A lot of people tend to make comparisons between bearded queens as if we were
Mhm.
one and the same,
Mhm.
Absolutely.
which just doesn't make any
Absolutely.
sense. We
It
just
really
have a
does.
beard, but that is literally the only thing we have in common. So
Mhm.
I keep on being compared to La Big Bertha from Drag Race France, who's a very dear friend of mine,
Hmm.
but we look nothing alike. We just
We
have
love
a
her.
fucking beard.
No, nothing alike. We love her, but
Yes.
you look nothing alike.
No, I highly disagree, and people still mistake us for one another. So go figure.
Hmm.
Hmm. Anyways,
But
before you popped in, my dear Logan, I was talking about my roots when I was still a baby. Um, and I was just talking about how drag queens were not called drag queens back then in Belgium in 2005. And how my first role models were those beauty queens, like cold, icy queens, very poised, very chic. And back then, I've tried to fit in. I've shaved my beard. I've worn those lovely gowns, and I've tried to be extremely feminine. And, at the end of the day, I'm still tall and quite blocky, and I'm afraid I would never have managed to be this kind of beautiful woman that they want it to be, which was quite hard for me back then because I wanted so hard to be a beauty queen, and
Mhm.
realizing I was not cut out for it was quite harsh. Um, that's also at that time that I've met Mademoiselle Boop that you have seen in Drag Race
Right.
Belgique season
We love
1.
her.
Um, say that again.
We love her.
So do I. She's a lot of things for me. When we've met back then, I was 20 years old by then, and we actually got together. This is juicy gossip for you. We were together for 8 years.
Oh,
There you
wow.
go. So that was a long time. We basically started our adult life together. We were 20, the both of us. From our 20 to our 28 years old, we basically grew up together. Well, not grew up, but yeah, we started our active adult life together. And she was already doing drag as well as Mademoiselle Boop, and she was much more of a beauty queen than I was.
You might have to repeat
So
all of that for Logan,
No,
because
no,
he
I'll
we
listen
don't.
back. I'll listen back. You're good.
okay.
No, we don't have to have people repeat things.
you've missed juicy gossip,
Juicy
but
tea, yes.
Lovely.
Well, I'm curious, where did you come up with the name Veuve? I Googled and found out that meant the widow.
yes.
So it's a very specific character, and I got very specific characterization from you in the Meet the Queens. So I'm just wondering how that came about.
So actually, La Veuve was born a bit later because in the early 2000s, I dropped it. I was too frustrated. I didn't manage to do what I wanted to do, so I've quit drag for years. And La Veuve was born 9 years ago, I believe, when I felt like there was space for something different, that I could do drag with a beard. Drag Race had started back then as well. Like minds were opening up, and I figured out, okay, maybe this is my time to try again and do something different from what I tried to do before. And before I wasn't called La Veuve, I was called Malice, which is another piece of gossip that no one knows about.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, just like Alice with an M, Malice. But I killed that one. She's dead and buried. Uh, and I came back as Levov 9 years ago, and Levov actually was not a personal choice in terms of I didn't choose that. It's just the very first time I went out with the new makeup, with the new look, with the new vibe. Um, I dressed up literally as a widow, as a black widow with a veil and all in black and extremely, yeah, as poised as well. And all night long they had to call me something, so they would not use my boy's name, so they had to call that widow over there. So they called me La Veuve, La Veuve, La Veuve, and that
Mhm.
stayed. Just easy as that. There's no there's no big story behind it, but it actually suited me quite well. I was very happy about it. Very much my aesthetic, basically. So it just made sense. And yeah, I've kept it. Just yeah, easy as that.
And how has taken that time off of drag, obviously, that's going to change a bit of your perspective and talking about how, drag had changed in Belgium from, the time of quote unquote passing to, being in a more modern time of drag. How do you feel like that has influenced what you do now? Because I know we saw a lot of what you do on the show, but you do so like if you don't follow Levov on social media, please do yourself a service and go do that, because the drag you do and I've seen so much more of you than I saw on the show, and I'm glad that I was able to see that because it's clear that there's so much more to the character than the little bit we were able to see on the show.
Yeah, but that's the name of the game. To do the show, you have to fit into the show's mold. So that's what I've done. But it's extremely limiting in terms of what I usually do. Most of what I've done on the show, I don't do in my daily drag, and that's not what my drag is about. So that was for me the challenge and the whole experience of it. It was getting out of my comfort zone and trying to do things that I would have never done in my daily practice. So yeah, looking back at the show today, it's very true that I would say 75% of it is not something that you would see me do on a regular basis, and that's perfectly fine because, as I said, it's the name of the game, and that was the whole appeal of it. It's a challenge. It's yeah, it's trying something new. What was your question again?
How, with taking so much time off of drag like you did, how did that change your perspective on your own drag? Like how was that break? How did you implement the change in perspective into the drag you do now?
I
And I'm
think
glad you
I've
asked because I couldn't remember the question either. I was like, what was it?
I'm typically very long-winded with the way that I do questions, so it makes sense. But
I'm quite a chatterbox, so I tend to give very long answers.
we are too, if you couldn't tell.
So I think I've used the break mostly to work behind the scenes in the first place because I was still together with Mademoiselle Boop, which is the gossip you've missed. So we were a couple, and her career was going well. So I was very supportive. We worked on outfits together. We were coming up with new acts together, and it was more like lurking in a corner and getting everything in. Also, Drag Race started, so there was all of a sudden there was a whole rainbow of drag that we didn't get access to in Belgium before because Belgium is a very small country, and we have those role models, and there was not a lot of stimulation and breaking the barriers or whatever. So I've observed a lot, and also I've started getting into more political, militant organizations or just circles, basically, expanding my own experience of what it is to be a queer person in the 21st century. And I've started researching and writing about queer history, which is my very own shtick, and that is in no way visible in the show. But that's a big, big part of why I do what I do, and I bring a lot of queer history on stage. And all of those things combined gave me this subtle hint that there was a possibility to be a bit more different in when was that 9 years ago 2024 2015. In 2015 there was more of it was possible where it wasn't possible a few years back. So yeah,
Yeah,
does
this is
that
very
answer your
interesting.
question?
Yeah, this is very interesting because I was thinking back when we did our Instagram review. I remember seeing your drag and being like, I don't think we've ever quite seen anybody like Veuve on any drag race, period. But it's really not just you. Like, I don't think we've ever seen a Lulu Velvet either. I don't think we've quite seen a Morphe on any drag race. So what I think is really interesting about Belgique is that queens that are getting cast are not what typically fit inside the box. Like if the box of drag race queens is like this, there's so much on the outside that we just miss a lot. And we're gradually starting to see more and more, whether it's like cisgender queens or just different styles of drag. So I really appreciate that Belgium is really expanding those horizons, introducing people who are watching from different other countries, the type of drag scene you have there. I just wish I wish they were as progressive when it comes to challenges, because it still feels like they're really inside that same old mold. And I really wish that they would also think outside of the box with that. So,
Yeah, Belgique is definitely going by the book, and it shows, and it's a pity. um but you know I don't know if you've monitored a little bit the reactions, global reactions to Drag Race Belgique,
Yeah.
but in general, they're quite bad. We are not a very well liked season. The
Yeah.
production has been ripped to shreds by people who were just like, what the fuck is this season? Why does it even exist? Is it a parody? It's a fever dream. And I'm not allowed to agree with that, but I'll let you ponder whether or not I do. Uh,
We sure
but
did to an extent. We've talked a lot about, it, and we said it in I think both of or all three of the other interviews we've done with the other members of your cast that we've talked to. It just seemed like it seemed like the way they were editing Drag Race was as if they had never seen an episode of Drag Race before ever.
Listen,
And
you
it,
know what?
and it shows.
What is a big part of the problem for me is that the biggest part of the production team isn't queer,
Yeah,
and
I
it
can
doesn't
believe
help.
that.
That doesn't
The
surprise me at
queer
all.
touch and the pop culture and the whole experience of the show. I mean, the fact that they've seen it or not, it's quite clear that they haven't watched it as much as any of us have done. So yeah, it's a thing, and I am not going to criticize because I don't want to pay a fine.
You don't
But
have to criticize. I will do the criticizing for you. I signed no NDA. That production was not good. It made everything seem a little bit off.
Crunchy.
Very crunchy. Like we didn't see the bonds that were built and the relationships that you all had. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, by the way, we're sobbing because we missed this girl that we've become so close with. And we're like, as an audience, like, when? When did
You all
that
like Star? What?
when did
Literally.
what? Like, when did y'all are we sobbing for this person who y'all barely talked to? Well, we saw you barely even had a conversation with.
Yeah.
It was the most like stuff just happened out of the blue the entire season where I was like, oh. And I mean, David, close your ears. I'm jumping the gun. Even the finale, I was like, where did this come from? Where did this lip sync palooza even come from? Like, why are we doing this?
None of you were told to bring extra looks, so none of you changed.
Clothes so we can change into our good outfits, so we can actually move and dance in our outfits, like so we can actually have a fair lip
bottom of the drawers. It's just like we had nothing left. There was
nothing left to
nothing.
give. So
Oh,
insane.
God.
We were desperate. We knew we were gonna be on fucking TV.
Right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm swearing, but
Oh,
we were the
it's
first
your-
victims, and we were like, are you kidding? We're gonna look like shit. And we did.
It was
Guess what? We
insanity.
did.
Not always.
No, you didn't look like y'all didn't look bad, and it wasn't y'all. It wasn't y'all. It was just the way that they showed it, and we were like, and especially after it's been so much Drag Race out there, and so many ways we've seen so many different productions of Drag Race, and it's like, what is happening here? This is not like this, and this is not like that. And for someone like myself who just started watching Drag Race this past year and starting to see things, I'm like, where is the consistency in this Drag Race universe that y'all drag in? Because like I'm very lost and confused from time to time. But I had lots to say about the production. You don't have to say anything because they were craptasticals.
There's still a lot that we liked, mostly with the cast.
We love the cast.
Yeah,
I love the cast down. I didn't like the way they showed the cast.
Right. We really appreciate the different types of characters that we get to see that we don't usually get. So I really hope the franchise keeps going and has a pretty healthy life moving forward. I would love to see an All-Stars at some point in the future because I feel like there's a lot of people that really have potential to come back now that they know maybe they didn't know exactly what they signed up for in the first run. maybe they'll be more prepared in the second run if they get another chance. So I'm excited for the future of Belgique. I'll say that. Positive spin.
Yeah. And in my case, I've come to terms with the whole production quality of it by reminding myself of one thing, that maybe Drag Race Belgique isn't actually meant for the Drag Race fandom. And in
Ooh.
our tiny country, having a show with drag queens on national television, if it brought if it was brought to the attention of people who needed to see and hear this, and it resonated with people who actually really needed it, then we truly won it all. That is
Yeah,
my point of view on it, to be at peace with the idea of this franchise existing and being what it is.
absolutely.
Um, if it did that, then good on us.
Yeah,
If the fandom is mad at it, they have enough franchises and other seasons to watch. And I wish it could cater to everyone's needs, but if it at least did something for the people who needed it, then I'm much more at peace.
absolutely.
Mhm. Well, how about we
With the
get into the
enough.
actual experience on the show? So let's just talk about this premiere. So we saw a talent show, and then you did a tarot card reading talent
Mhm.
with comedy. So could you tell us a little bit about the idea behind that, how you settled on that, and how you felt being the very first queen to get a win this season?
So, talent show, because this is a talent show, and as every damn queen who's had to do a talent show, I guess we were all confronted by the fact that what is our talent? What is it that we do outside of drag that we could bring on a drag scene, on a drag stage to mm, showcase what we can do? Is there anything else we can do, actually? So, in my case, I've thought long and hard. What is it that I do that that I can do for a minute and a half and have it being interesting and good TV? So my very first thought was going towards queer history because that's what I do best and that's what I do in my daily drag. But how to bring queer history in a minute and a half and make it interesting and funny enough for people to get it that this is my actual talent. And was like, okay, scrap this. What else do I do? I draw. I do graphic design. This is my supposed my job from the past. Not gonna help. And then I'm like, I read tarot. That's not a talent, but I know how to read tarot. So why not bring that? It's never been done. What else is it that I do in my daily dragon that is definitely my forte? Talking, cracking jokes in a mic. That's what I do every week on stage. So I was like, okay, these two could work. Let's. I could have done a roast. I could have done just a skit on whatever subject, but I was like, this is a bit limited. So let's bring something that's never been done. So let's do tarot. Um, I would have loved to do a proper tarot reading, but that was not doable in such a short amount of time. But that could have been quite funny. Actually, Rita's future in live on the stage. But yeah, no, I went for a pre-drawn cards, and I knew what I was going to do, and that was comedy. Um, I never thought I would win with comedy because it's a very hard thing to convey, and it's a hit or miss. And we've seen many queens just fall flat on their faces because it just didn't work. Um, I knew about Alvilda's talent show. We've rehearsed before. We are sisters in real life for before the show. We worked together as well as with Lulu and everything. And I knew that she was bringing the fire. I've seen the rehearsals. I was like, okay, this is it. And she's got this. This is for her. And Alvilda being Alvilda and being extremely confident, she was like, "No, this is for you." So
Yeah.
it was a bit of a war of no, you, no, you, no, you, and in the end, it was for me. Um, I don't know if it's legitimate that I won. I like what I've done, and I think it was a good skit, and it was good comedy, and it was a risk doing comedy. I like the fact that I've tried to incorporate season 1 and reading the judges and everything, and just not, make a general comedy piece and just trying to involve everyone. Was it worth a win? It's not my judgment, but I would have given the win to Alvilda personally because she's amazing, basically.
Yeah.
But I'm very glad I did win, and I am very glad I did win with comedy. It's just I was very surprised, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you get the win, you absolutely deserve it. You probably saw with us on the panel, we had different winners, and that was nothing against you. Honestly, and I said this throughout the season, it is so hard for me to get comedy to translate when I'm hearing it in a different language and I'm having to read the subtitles. So we were all still very high on you that episode. But yeah, it was so much easier to be like, ooh, fire, flashy, beautiful, winner.
I believe I still had you as my winner of the talent
Morphe.
show.
I watched it back recently.
Was it Morphe?
It was. You originally
Just
had
kidding.
Veuve, but then bumped Veuve to number 2. So you were still number 2 for Logan.
Wow.
Julie knows it, Logan.
Well,
Yeah, no,
Well.
I totally get that. I mean, I was surprised. Other people must have been surprised.
mhm,
The evident winner for me was Alvilda, and
mhm.
even though she fell, I was certain that she was going to win.
Right.
But you never know how they pick them. You just don't know. We got the critiques. The critiques were not that bad. Uh, I don't know how they decided in the end that it was me and not her, but it was one of us two, that's for sure.
Right. You
Yeah.
you
And
definitely
don't
earned
get
it.
me started on the judging about Morphe, because
Yeah, I still can't believe. Like there must be a mistake. She was not the bottom 3, right? I don't-
As far as we will ever know, she was low in this challenge, and I don't understand why. I never will.
But moving on to episode 2, I think we had what you described in your finale as your low moment of the entire series. And that's when we saw a little bit of a stumble while you were walking on
Jesus
the runway.
Christ.
What was going through
Okay.
your mind in that moment?
On the when I stumbled,
Hmm.
specifically.
Yes.
yes, we're bringing back all of your trauma
Trauma.
from that exact moment, and that's what we want to know.
Okay. Switch the chat. No. Okay. What was going on in my mind when I stumbled? It was like, okay, this dress is not only ugly, but I'm also gonna fall flat on my face. Lovely. And I love how Musty from the judging panel
Mhm.
at one moment said, I don't know if they've kept it or not, but he was like, we could only see fear in your eyes. You should have played it out more. And was like, what is supposed to be in my eyes but fear? I'm stumbling on my dress on the runway of Drag Race. What you want? Rainbows? That's not gonna happen.
And if he stumbles on the Eurovision stage, I hope it's fear that runs through his eyes too. Like,
Yes,
I don't
please.
wish that on him. I really do. I'm rooting for Belgium this year in Eurovision, but
Yeah.
but it's like what else?
So yeah,
What else would you be? What else would you be experiencing? Whatever. Anyway.
so yeah, episode 2 was most probably my lowest point and one of the most frustrating experiences for me. Because believe it or not, I can sew, and
Mhm.
it doesn't show. It doesn't show. What I've done on the show is horrendous. It's wrong in so many places. And I think what happened in this specific set of circumstances was that we got extremely bad material,
Yes.
extremely bad appliances. Can you believe we didn't have pins?
What?
We had needles, but we didn't have pins. I mean,
Straight people
Straight
planned this for you.
people.
So Morphe and I had pins. We had our little boxes of pins that we brought with us, and everyone used them. We had one measuring tape for the whole workroom. I mean,
Okay. Oh,
I didn't have a mannequin that was my size. There were two versions of it, skinny and not skinny,
bigger.
but
Not
not my kind of not skinny.
Mm-hmm.
So I literally taped my padding on a skinny mannequin to try and get my size because there wasn't. Um, the fabric we've got, the
no
fabric
good.
I've got, because we all got different
Right.
things. So I
Yeah.
had literally three pieces of fabric, which was one, the main dress was in the main fabric, which was this kind of cotton that was I was just looking at it, it would stretch by itself and not get back because it was an extremely, it wasn't stretchy. It was just like get loose. The more you wear it, the looser it gets. I had this tiny piece of sequins and the kind of ruffle tool that I had around. That's all I got. And strangely enough, half tennis balls with feathers in them, like planted feathers in the half tennis balls, but the feathers were green.
Not white.
Okay.
Honestly.
Mm. Yeah, I'm
And
gonna jump in real
um,
quick because y'all said straight people. I'm going to defend some straight people because let's say straight men. That's
There
who
we go.
did that. That was not women who did that because women would have known better not to give non-stretch fabric. Like I'm gonna defend the women. We ain't do that. We ain't do that.
and I am not trying to I'm not trying to find excuses for myself. What I've done with
Of
that,
course.
which was shit. If you had given it to Lulu, she most probably would have pulled something off that would be much better than what I did. That I own it 100%. I think the position I found myself in as well was a kind of an in between because you had the good seamstresses, which were Lulu and Morphe, and then you
Mhm.
had the extremely lacking ones, which were Chloe and Alvilda, who had no clue how to sew. And I was kind of in the middle. So the bad ones needed help the most.
Mhm.
I didn't exactly need help, but I could have used help. But some other people needed it most,
Mm.
so I let that go. And I've tried to do it all by myself. No one helped me, and I could have used help, but I didn't ask for it because I figured out that Alvilda had one right glove, two right gloves
Like
at
look.
Yep.
half past
As
midnight.
we found out when
So
we talked to her, two right gloves. Uh,
so she needed the help, and I let that pass. And I, once again, not making excuses for myself, I could have done much better. Um, but I think the set of circumstances definitely didn't allow me to showcase the fact I can sew.
Hmm.
There
Yeah,
we
it was
go.
funny because I rewatched all of our episodes last week, and I'm like, oh, I kind of hope she didn't watch this one because we were not. Well, I'll own it. It was not my favorite look by any means, but
It's just posts.
yeah, I'm glad that you're very realistic about how it looked because yeah, I do think that it was a weird shuffle of challenges for you. Like you had one week that was very strong at the start, and then the next two
Mhm.
weeks were like the worst possible challenges they could have given you. Well, at least how they turned out. Um, so I don't know. Was there a specific concept you were going with this design challenge? You had all purple, right?
Yeah, I got as much purple as I could. As I said,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
two of the pieces of fabrics were purple. Then you had the sequins that were not purple,
Right.
but it was literally this big, so I had to do, and that's why I did like this kind of those accessories with them because I couldn't actually sew anything in it. It wasn't big enough to make a garment. So, what was your question again?
Oh, I was asking if there was a specific concept behind the look.
Oh yes. So my goal with this was to go for like the Disney villainous kind of vibe because that's purple. That's what purple gives me in terms of vibes. Um, and with that kind of tool, it was like, let's go for something that is going to be extravagant because that's the only thing I can do with that. but then it kind of crumpled down, and the more we were going, it just kept on going lower and lower, and the fabric of the dress was getting looser and looser, which is why I'm actually losing it. Uh, the Between the moment I put it on my back and the moment I got on the runway, I had gained like 3 sizes. It was just literally falling off of me. Um, and yeah, I was trying to do something that I know how to do, which is sew a bodice, and then you have kind of a ruffle dress coming out of it, but it just didn't work. Um, and I also wanted to, cut it open to have a thigh come out of it, but then I didn't have what I needed to measure correctly, and then that's also why I stumbled upon it because it gets
Mm.
loose and because I had to measure without a fucking measuring tape. I did my hem by out of my eye. I mean, I just looked at it and was estimating and was like, okay, this should be enough. And that was a bit too much. So yeah, there you go. Extremely bad experience for me. Very traumatizing. I got into the third episode terrified because I was
Right.
like, okay, this is really a roller coaster. You can be high up and then you can go just all the way down in a matter of 24 hours.
Right. But you were not in the bottom two that episode. And then episode 3 comes, unfortunately. And this is where we meet.
Fortunately,
Well, we meet identities here, or identities. um,
it is.
so, how was your experience doing a girl group? Because I'm sure this is what you do every day, right?
David, don't be that kind of
David.
person.
David,
No,
we're reliving their
I
trauma
know.
right now. You don't have to be this way.
We're gonna get past the trauma very quickly.
yeah,
After
no.
episode 3, we'll be good.
So going into the show, going into the filming, there was one main thing that I was dreading. It was dancing. I was not afraid of the design challenge. I thought I would do good in the design challenge. I had what it takes. I was proven wrong. Then the dancing came along, and that was really the thing I was terrified about. So I've grown up in a house where there was no musicians, no music, no dancing, no rhythm, no nothing. I've never learned anything close related to movement. I haven't done theater. I haven't done, you know, anything related to rhythm. So I was going in knowing full well it would be a challenge because every time someone has tried to make me move, it has to be simple. It has to be rehearsed 1,000 times before it actually gets in. And I knew it was not going to be this kind of conditions. So when I've learned that we had to create a choreo and sing and record and everything, I was like, how much time is there going to be for the actual choreo when we have to do all of the other stuff? The only thing I was comfortable with was the writing because I write. Um, and making things rhyme and trying to give a like cheesy 90s kind of vibe that was easy enough. So I don't exactly know how it translated in English, but in French it was going for those pop kind of corny positive vibes, girl
Mhm.
power kind of
That
thing.
came through. That definitely came through as far as, the English
Good.
translation was concerned. So,
Okay, so that was the goal by writing it. I mean, it's not exactly very intellectual, but none of the songs from 90s were. So that was the only thing I felt comfortable with. And after that, we've worked on the dancing. Well, we recorded the song first, and we all crossed our fingers that there would be some autotune or something. Spoiler, there wasn't. Even though they told us there would be, that they would, yeah, we're gonna tweak it and fix it and whatever. Nothing. It was just
Mm.
raw as it was, and then do you want me to talk about my outfit that was deemed
Yes,
first time in drag by Rita Baga?
we would love to.
Did they keep that on the show? I think they did, right? That she said like it gives me first time in drag vibes.
This is
Yes.
the white one, right? With the
The
white
white one.
contacts.
Yes. Yes.
No, it was the
They,
the outfit on the dancing challenge,
oh,
the
yes,
girls'
you're
Oh,
right.
group.
You're right.
oh,
You're
oh,
right.
yeah.
You're right. Okay,
The
yes,
black
yes,
dress.
black one.
Yes.
Oh God. So first things first, I had actually accessories that I couldn't wear because it broke just a moment before we got on the runway. So I had all those hearts, like those rhinestone hearts that was a belt and there were chains and rhinestones and whatever. Fucking thing broke literally 3 minutes before we got on stage. So I was like, okay, I'll just go with the dress, period. And when we got the cast letter month before, like saying you need to go we needed an outfit that screams 90s. I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I grew up in the 90s. I don't think it's a very interesting era in terms of fashion. It was quite simple when you think about it. Like low cut jeans, and I've looked at like girls group back then. Some had very strong identities, but I had no clue what the others would bring. So I had several options, and this was kind of my baby spice gone wrong outfit. Like baby spice, but make it black, and with all the rhinestone hearts that I ended up not wearing. And a little puffy jacket and the buffaloes. I was wearing buffaloes, those yeah, those tall platform shoes, because that's, to me, it's quintessential 90s. That was one option. And then I had the grungy, depressed kind of girl, like a bit before Avril Lavigne even came to fame. Um, but it didn't match with the others. I had those, like, this hat that said I don't care about anything, and this like big flannel shirt and those short jeans short, but it looked like comedy. It didn't look like a girl group. So I ditched that and went with the black baby spice. And apparently the first time in drag comment, oh
Mm,
Jesus Christ, that hurt.
I bet.
That really hurt. I'm
I
not
can
saying she
imagine.
was wrong though, but
No, I was
Well,
gonna,
it really hurt.
I was gonna be like, I can imagine the hurt because it would probably hurt me as a performer, and somebody say something like, "That sounded like the first time I ever did something," and I'm like, "Ooh, oh, okay," but
But
wrong.
there's a big but.
She wasn't
yeah.
wrong. Unfortunately, it
And
It
wasn't the
wasn't
best.
your highlight.
well,
You saw you
well,
look way
No, it
better than
wasn't.
that. So I'm like,
and
but I
this
get.
this and this coming from perfect fashion icon Rita Baga,
I mean,
who's never done anything wrong on a runway ever on Drag Race.
I mean, I
Well,
mean, the,
I agree. It was not a good outfit.
It wasn't great, no.
It wasn't great, but the 90s pop band
they weren't
is
all that
really
great.
not in my comfort zone.
I'm about to say 90s pop band girl groups, they didn't have it all together themselves either, so it's fine. It's
Hmm.
fine.
And we didn't have a unity. We were all so different. So we kind of tried and make it work as in the Spice Girls because they were unrelated as well. But it was so wacky, like out there. We had no kind of cohesive vibe. So yeah,
I
it
am
is what it
curious.
is. And
I am curious about another thing with this episode. So you get out on the stage, I guess, at some point, and you look over and you see Leo, and Leo is wearing a very specific wig. How did you feel knowing what you had planned for the finale, seeing Leo's very similar wig?
I had a thought for the designer
Mm-hmm.
who sold me the wig first and then decided it would sold another one to someone else who would be on the same show as I was. So that was my first thought. That was, oh,
Mm-mm.
someone's gonna hear from me. And second was, this is episode 3. My wig is for the finale. So fingers crossed she's only gonna wear it once. Because there's enough time between her wearing it and my wearing it. So I was gutted. I was. Good thing is she went for a hat. She had a hat on top of it,
Right.
so it kind of mixed it in, and I was like, okay, it's not directly connected, and there will be a few episodes in between, but I was pissed.
Yeah.
Did set designer get some words from you after the show was over? Did we have some words for set designer?
Lana, and I'm afraid I'm, and that sounds very strange coming from my own mouth, but I'm afraid quite a kind person, and
Um,
I've let it go. I
you,
haven't said
you,
anything
you're so,
because
I appreciate your kindness. I love that for you. And I'm sure that designer is very grateful that you were kind because, honey, I would not have been kind at all.
Mhm.
I would have let that designer know. You knew what you were doing when you sold me the wig and you knew where I was going with this wig and you knew that other person was going to be there because you knew. You knew, and I'll say it
she
for you.
knew.
Designer, if you're watching, you knew better than that. And you owe Veuve a huge apology and probably some money back. I'm just saying, if it's up to me, you
I
owe
wouldn't
her some
mind.
money.
I
But
definitely could use the money.
I'm just saying, I'm sure they could. So you owe Veuve an apology and some money back because you knew what you was doing. You were greedy is what you were doing.
Mhm. It's a great wig though, and both of you looked very good in it.
Just looked
Agreed.
amazing
Yeah,
in the
but
wig, but you did. But yeah,
also when the filming was over, it was like, what? I'm
whatever. I got it.
exhausted. What's the point? Whatever. And then I've just, dropped it and moved on. So yeah,
Yeah, okay. If you ever want me to call him
I
for
wear it
you,
better. And she's most probably never gonna wear it again. So I will.
absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely.
Yep,
I was like, if you need me to
absolutely.
call somebody, I'll give you my number afterwards and I can do the calling for you. I'll be your representative. I will speak for you if you need me to.
You're hired.
Thank you. My French is crap because I don't know how to speak French, but I'll make sure
He
they
speaks
understand what I'm
English.
saying.
He doesn't speak French, so you're good.
Okay.
Perfect.
Right.
Go for the
Mm.
throat.
We'll work it out. We'll work it out. We'll talk after the podcast. We'll talk.
Well, shall we move on to episode 4 now?
I
Unless you
mean,
wanted to talk about the lip sync.
I don't want to talk about. I can talk about the outfit, the lip sync in
okay.
itself.
Oh yeah, we forgot to talk about that outfit.
Yeah, but we're talking a lot, so maybe it's my fault. The outfit, I'm extremely disappointed in how it looks on TV. I don't know
Mm.
if you have had chance to check on my Instagram. The photo shoot gives it more justice.
I
And
I
once again,
did I did see it. I did see it.
not making excuses once again, but white is extremely flat on TV, and I didn't know about that. And we're missing a lot of the details. So I've worked with a French Parisian designer who's quite the reference when it comes to Art Nouveau. I mean, she's uh, she's worked for like Art Nouveau conferences and blah blah blah. She's
Um,
quite someone in the Art Nouveau scene, if that's even a thing. So she got the references and everything, and she was extremely excited working on it. And we were like, oh, how can we twist Art Nouveau to make it fit with La Veuve? Because Art Nouveau is all about, florals and springs and
hmm.
pastels and whatnot, which is not, not La Veuve at all. We're like, okay,
No.
let's turn this into a decaying kind of Art Nouveau. Let's make it rot. Let's make it like let's have the flowers wilt and whatnot. So that's what we went for, and we went for that whole silk, hand-dyed silk dress, which is very flowy and very, very low-hanging, which is kind of Art Nouveau, whatever. And then we got lost along the way with the whole thing in the back happening, which the whole reveal, it actually technically it worked, but it didn't do what I wanted it to do. I wanted to go with those kind of big rounds behind my head that looks a bit like stained glass, which is also very typical of Art Nouveau. And then along the way, we found a picture of kind of a skull that was all draped, and it looked very, yeah, drapey as they used to do in Art Nouveau. And we tried to replicate that. It didn't work. It didn't give the vibe I wanted it to give. I wanted to be half dead, half Ophelia in the lake, kind of drowned and everything. I don't think it worked. I don't think it worked. The concept was there. The execution was not bad per se, but all the elements together were a bit disjointed, and it didn't go where I wanted it to go. I'm still glad about the photo shoot, and if you look at the pictures, maybe a bit closer to what I was going for than what you've seen on TV, but
Mhm.
only a little bit closer. It's still not exactly what I wanted to, what I wanted it to be. And then I lip synced in it with my wide lenses,
I know.
and that was hell. I hate this song. It's not a good lip sync song. Um, and when I got back on the runway, I was angry. I was extremely angry because I think it's Star. They commented on Star saying that, oh, it's very Mucha, the Alphonse Mucha, the guy who did a lot of Art Nouveau paintings and everything. I was like, Mucha is my main inspiration on this. You're not pointing it out. And I don't know, the whole first time in drag and everything, I was pissed when I got back on the stage. I was determined, extremely determined, and very hard to make angry because I'm usually uh, kind. Once again, I guess it's very
Mhm.
hard to pull my strings and get on my nerves. But I got on that stage and was filled with a cold rage. I was extremely determined. I was like, okay, this is how you want to do it. Let's fucking do it. And then the song starts. It's a bad lip syncing song. You can't do shit on that song. So I just tried. And but I guess maybe the determination just saved my ass. I don't know. I pulled it off somehow, and I was smiling as well, which I wasn't on the runway, and I was criticized for it. I was looking a bit lost and a bit. I was dead. Of course, I'm not gonna hop around. I'm supposed to be Ophelia in the lake. I'm drowned. Like I'm not gonna. Yeah, I'm
Had
I'm not
they
gonna
did
falling
they
on
have
stage.
any reference for Art Nouveau? Because I saw your look, and I was also a little worried because I knew that it didn't fit into your aesthetic, and I said that's the most Veuve-ified version of Art Nouveau that you could do. But it seemed like it was another case of kind of picking and choosing where they wanted to critique positively and critique negatively. And I guess this was the occasion they didn't want to critique you positively whatsoever on anything.
Which was not the case. So
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't get anything going on for me that week. So yeah, it is what it is. And honestly, when I got in the show, my goal was to go at least until episode 3 because I
Uh-huh.
wanted to make it as far as Edna did. I didn't want to lose to her.
Right?
Well, that was a low bar already. So you made it through the design challenge, and she didn't.
She didn't. The Benz
So
got her. So
I still don't
yeah,
think she should
I
have
was
gone
like,
home
if
that
I'm
week,
going
but
home, I'm going home as soon as she did. I won't have beaten her, but yeah. Oh well, at least I've won a challenge.
There you go. Well, I think we've made it past the most traumatic episodes for you, hopefully. So it's all up from here. So the next challenge that we have is in episode 4, where Star has to divide out the different ministries, and you get the Ministry of Fame. So can you tell us a little bit about the idea you had behind Ministry of Fame and how you were going to handle that challenge?
So Star was picking the ministries without trying to make it work, without trying to match them with who would do best. And she could have given me fashion. That would have been even worse. But she gave me fame. And I was like, you know what? Let's make this work. And the first thing that came to mind in terms of fame and Belgium is that Belgium is not famous. We are not famous. Belgian drag queens are nobodies. And that was the whole starting point of the law is that we need to make Belgian drag queens famous. We need to represent around the world that we exist and that we are there. Blah blah blah. So once again, it was about writing and cracking jokes, and that's what I'm good at. So I felt quite comfy with that. I had too much material I just needed to cut through. My only problem with it is that they kind of insisted on the fact that there should be a personal element in the law, maybe something a bit emotional and whatnot. I was like, how can I make that personal? How can I make the fact that we are not famous internationally relative to me? I was not going to make it about me. I needed to make it about Belgium. And I've tried to infuse that a little bit by talking about the fact that I own a cabaret and that we've known the years without an audience and that we've been struggling and blah blah blah. And we need more fame basically to be able to make it. But it was more funny than it was emotional, definitely.
Well, we thought it was a good challenge for you. Um, but this runway though, I want to talk about that because I have a bad habit of not catching certain intentions behind runway looks. So this was one where on the podcast they explained to me that it was a duet between two Eurovision people, and you were changing from one to the other, and I'm like, oh, I completely missed that. So I thought that was very clever once I figured it out. So could you tell us how you decided on that look?
So when we had to prepare for Eurovision, I went through like 50 years of Belgian Eurovision. First things first, who knows Belgian Eurovision singers? Who does? We don't. We are Belgians and we don't know them. I know a few from the past years, and I know the only one who actually won in 1986, which is the year I was born.
Yeah.
Like, I know this one because she won. And then what? Who's going to do her? We don't want another case of people going for the same idea and we end up with three people doing the same outfit. So I was like, we need to try and think out of the box and find something that nobody's going to do. Funny thing is, among my choices were also the person that Chloe went for and the person that Gabbana went for. And I'm very glad I didn't do them because we would have ended up. Yoko also wanted to go for Gustav, which Alvinda did. So we managed to escape the doppelgangers, which is a good thing. But I had to search long and hard to find something that nobody else would do. And then I stumbled upon 1972 and I was looking at it and the guy had a beard and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I noticed they have the same haircut. Almost. They're both blonde and they have this kind of, square cut kind of blonde bob. And I'm like, okay, they look quite similar. And they're a couple and they're singing this love song. And the only difference is the beard. It's a bit far-fetched, but that was the idea. And I was like, you know what? Nobody's going to do them because they're a duet. Nobody's going to do the girl because her outfit is not exactly interesting and neither is his. But
Right.
if you do both, then the interest is there. It's the whole concept was about doing the both of them because their outfits are not out of this world. But doing the both of them, yeah, that was my trump card. I was like, okay, I'll just get all my money on that, and if it does work, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm a bit sad because the little, reference picture that they put in the show is in black and white.
Mm.
You won't realize that I was actually matchy with the originals, but yeah, that was a whole concept, and I could have gone bigger and better and more extravagant with the dress, but it had to fit into the trousers. So I would have loved to make it, extra drag and very puffy and very blah blah blah. But then it wouldn't have worked with the pants on and the blazer. Then I was like, maybe I should just do the girl then and make it extra drag. But she's not interesting and she was not alone. There was a guy with her. So yeah. I went
I
for
think
middle of the road kind of outfits, but based on the reveal.
Yeah, I think the concept alone was was good. It was good. It was good enough to get you past to the next round. The outfits itself, they were fine. They were, like you said, they weren't spectacular, because they weren't. Neither of their outfits were something that was just spectacular, outrageous. But your reveal was smooth, which that always bothers me if somebody's going to do a reveal and it's all clunky and then I'm like, oh, you just ruined it. I don't want to see the reveal if you can't execute it well. So the fact that your outfit was simple, that's fine. But the reveal was smooth. It was like the jacket came off, the pants easily ripped off, and I was like, oh, it worked. I thought it was a good concept, and I was like, the outfit is fine. This week for me, I was like perfectly safe, like perfectly safe, like right there. Didn't do nothing that was too outrageous. Where I'm like, should be at the top, but didn't do nothing to belong in the bottom. So I was like, work.
Yeah.
Sometimes, some
That's
weeks you
what I
need
was aiming at.
Hey, sometimes we just ain't
When we gauge our outfits before the show, I was like, okay, Eurovision is meant to be safe. Let's try and make it safe. And I knew I was not going to win an episode with that outfit, unless the other ones were shitty, which they were not. But yeah, I was well aware that this was not like my greatest drag ever.
Yeah, I think I told Alvilda when she was there, I was like, that runway was one of my favorite runways, and it made me either scream in elation, like, yes, or maybe go, oh. So at least I
She's
felt
good.
something. It was like, I felt something either way, and I enjoyed that runway a lot.
And I'm glad that you said what you said because it confirms something that I've said a lot on different Drag Race episodes that we cover. That I feel like there are just certain looks where queens are like, I'm not going to go as hard. I'm going to phone this one in. It's not going to be my absolute. And then there's other ones that they're like, okay, this is what I'm focusing on. So I'm sure it just happens naturally.
Yeah, we have to because we don't have enough time or money, so we have to cut corners at some point and be like, okay, this one I'm going to sacrifice and make it safe, and it is what it is. If you have enough time or money, you're on All Stars.
Right. But I do have a question about something. You might know this is coming, but I want to know your thoughts on this.
Oh God, I forgot.
Oh, Logan, you can't fit. There you go. Kind of. Oh. We're gonna have to do a super cut with the three of us.
As the picture
with Veuve, with Alvilda, with Cabana, and with Chloe.
What you want to know?
What were your thoughts when they were called out on that moment? And did you ever look at the notes?
The moment they were called out, we were like, what's happening? Like, this was unheard of that people would be being called out on the runway. We were just there to get critiques, not to be, have a conversation with Rita. And then this came up. I was like, why did they go for the notes in the middle of the day when the cameras were on? Do it like we all did in the evening.
Yep.
When everybody's on. So to be fair, I think we've all browsed the notes at some point. I hope the others said so. Otherwise, you're gonna have to cut this.
No, everybody has said that they looked at the notes.
We looked at the notes. I personally did it only once, and that was after the talent show, because it was literally there. All the notes were there, and I mean, I've worked with Paloma before. I know her. She's a friend, and I was like, "Oh, what did she write about me?" But it didn't change anything. That what we were reading didn't bring anything that we could change anything for the outfit or the runway or whatever. It didn't have any kind of impact. I totally understand that we shouldn't because we're not supposed to. We're kids and they're the teachers, so let's not ruffle through notes. But I've done it once I barely could read their handwritings. I didn't care much because it didn't change anything to what I had brought in my suitcases anyway. So yeah, no. I didn't look that day. I've only looked on the first day and I didn't learn anything, so wasn't bothered afterwards.
Fair.
Learning that the production crew is all straight, so many things are making so much more sense. Like, and having had all of the conversations we've had, I'm like, everything makes so much more sense now.
Does.
Knowing all of this about production.
I mean,
Well,
I
not
think
the whole production. There are some queers.
Okay, good.
it's
The,
not
the
enough.
producer actually is queer.
Okay.
But the director, for example, is not. And I don't want to speculate on anyone's sexuality,
Oh, of
but
course, yeah.
I think I know for a fact that a lot of people in there are not queer.
I mean, sexual orientation aside, it's obvious that they don't know how to produce Drag Race
Right.
itself, and that's the thing. Like, I'm sure they're great at producing other television shows, and maybe even some competition shows, but it's a certain je ne sais quoi that you need to produce
Look at you speaking
Drag Race.
French.
I know. You see me, see my little. But yeah, it's a
How do
certain
you
something you need to produce Drag Race.
how do you think season 2 compares to season 1 though? I'm asking a question now.
Yeah, you talk to the residents who watched it. I didn't see it.
Are you talking as far as production or as far as enjoyment of the season?
Production. Did they like get it better compared to season 1?
I don't
Yes.
think
To you?
so. I don't think so,
Oh,
actually.
I would say so.
Mhm. Well, I think what the difference is for me, I feel like the cast of season 1, while there's still a lot of really creative outside of the box people in that cast, I feel like they fit a little bit more into the mold of what Drag Race is. But I think there's a lot more outliers on your cast. So I really think that was kind of the imbalance there. Um, that's just my thoughts.
I would say as far as like for me, because I do enjoy I do enjoy season one. I thought it was a very good season of Drag Race. Um, for me, I would say I feel like the narrative stories happening in each episode were a little bit more understandable, despite them, not showing the personal relationships that you all had. Um, Not seeing any of like the bigger like teasing things. They did a better job on like teasing things from episode to episode that way.
Oops.
I'm freezing all day. That's just what's happening today, and we're just living with it. But I would say I feel like as a Drag Race season, I enjoyed watching season 2 a little bit more than I did season 1 because it felt like the stories made a bit more sense narratively.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Um, I regarding the relationship between the queens, I think the moment that you saw us being the most genuine towards each other is when we go back on stage after the lip sync, because we
Mhm.
get in each other's arms and you can see that we are actually interacting and who's with who. But that's the most significant moment of interaction that we have,
Yeah. And
and
it
that's
was
a lot
it
to see.
like we said earlier, it was Star's elimination that we were all kind of like everyone's sobbing over Star, and we loved Star. We were upset about Star too, but I don't think any of us were anticipating that level of reaction because we just didn't know the caliber to which you were all so close at that point. But
Even
definitely, yeah.
even with like Yoko when she was eliminated, and then we see Gabbana be like, "That was my closest friend in the competition," and we were like, "What? I've never seen you interact with Madame Yoko at all. I did not know that."
Yeah, and it's funny because the moment we entered the workroom, the very first day, it clicked straight away. There was no tension between anyone, and we were good Judies from the get-go. We were a really quite tight-knit group, and it doesn't really show. even though that was our experience, it was, oh, we're a bunch of friends and we're going through this together and we're helping and we're supporting each other, and that doesn't really translate on screen.
Mhm.
Oh well.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Stars elimination, that was in Snatch Game. And if I had to put money on who was going to win Snatch Game going into it, it would have been Star or yourself, Lovev. I thought that you two were going to dominate the Snatch Game. So you chose Joan of Arc. Can you talk a little bit about the decision to go with Joan of Arc, and how did you think you did in Snatch
Very surprised that you didn't think it was Chloe who was going to win.
Game? Oh, she was definitely third on
Um,
my list.
oh, you really thought she would be third?
No, no, no.
Anyways, going into the Snatch Game, I had brought two choices with me, which they don't show in the episode. They only show the bits about Joan of Arc. The other one was very Belgian. It's a Belgian Muppet. Um, like we have this ventriloquist, and he has this kind of big plushy Muppet. But it's from like the 70s and 80s, and I was like, maybe it's not just gonna work with the younger generation, so I dropped it. And I went for Joan of Arc because basically it's a historical character, so you can do whatever you like with her. My main directions with her were okay, so she's from the Middle Ages. She's a peasant, like she was not nobility. Um, she's a virgin and she hears voices. Do you see me hearing voices in the Snatch Game? No, because they've cut it all off. Why? I don't know. 85% of my jokes were about communicating with God. Like I had this big crucifix that I would pick up and I would talk to God. And God would tell me that the person who had parked their fucking chariot on the bridge should move it because it was in the way. And then I I had all those bits. I mean, that's the main thing about Joan of Arc. She hears
Uh-huh.
voices. The only jokes that are in the show are the three only ones where I'm not doing that. I don't know why.
Yeah, it was a
I
lot of
don't know.
like the
Is it because it's
burning log.
religious? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I do remember thinking like, oh, there were like a few things that stood out about like the burning, but then other than that, I was like, oh, she's kind of fading a little bit. But now that makes sense, like knowing that you had actual material and it was on the cutting room floor.
It felt like
I have
what
no clue.
I was gonna say it felt like what some people referred to as like the Kardashian edit on Snatch Game, where if you play a Kardashian on Snatch Game, you're gonna be safe, but you're gonna get no screen time in the Snatch Game. And that's how I felt because I wasn't on that episode to talk about it. That's how I felt about it. I was just like, it feels like they're showing us who won, and they showed a lot of Chloe. And they made sure to show you that Star was not doing good in their edit of everything. But otherwise, we didn't see a whole. We saw a little bit of Lulu, and that was kind of about it. I'm curious, when you finished the Snatch Game, what was your perception of it? Who did you think was going to win? Who did you think was going home?
We were quite certain that it was Lulu that was going to win, and I would probably be second. So it was between her and I. Um, and it would be about the runway to decide who was best. So I thought it was Lulu. Lulu thought it was me, the usual. Alvilda was not far behind. The only thing that was not helping her is the quick change that wasn't quick, and the fact that most of the jokes that she got from the cricket character were jokes that she didn't come up with, that she reused that were already in the show. So that was playing a bit against her. So I would have been more surprised if she had won. But Chloe wasn't in the equation, to be honest. And the obvious bottom two was the actual bottom two.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say, if it did come down to the runway between you and Lulu, you were the clear winner between the two of you, because that was one of our favorite looks of the whole season. That was your skate look. We got very Mad Max inspiration from it. So, can you talk about this look a little bit?
So I don't know how to skate. I didn't know how to skate before the filming happened, so I literally went to the park, I believe 4 times during the preparation period, and um, the first things that come to mind when it's roller skating for me were the obvious, like, oh, the waitress in a diner, which Sarah Logan would have done if she would have stayed. But this is not above, it's not thinking out of the box. And I was like, what else is roller skating giving me? And then I love cyberpunk kind of inspirations. And there's this manga which is called Gun, um, in which there's a sport that is called motorball, and it's like ultra high speed battle on roller skate with blades and everything. It's very bloody and very gory. Um, and I was like, okay, that's an inspiration. That I could go for something a bit more like cosplay vibes and a bit more geeky because I am quite geeky in real life. I love sci-fi, I love horror, I love those kind of vibes. And I was like, this is a kind of love I have not shown in any other of my outfits. So maybe this is the time to try and make it happen on the runway. And so I went for that direction. I would have loved to be full of LED lights and everything, just didn't have time. But if I could have pushed it as far as I wanted it to, it would have most probably been bigger in terms of the armor would have been with lights and everything. And but I was very happy with the size. That was the pièce de résistance of the look for me. And I've made it with my own 2 hands and a dear friend of mine. We've made it from scratch, and this I'm extremely happy about. Give me a side any day, but make it a cyberpunk side, I'm sold. Like,
There we go.
yes.
And this was a particular runway that Lana and I were very happy because we kept wanting to see you paint your beard. And so this was the first time I think that you painted your beard, and we were like, okay, we really like you incorporating that into it. So do
Yeah.
you generally just not paint your beard, or was that something you just started trying for Drag Race?
I almost never do paint my beard, just as I almost never wear wigs
Mhm.
in my regular drag. Well, not never. I usually go for turbans or my actual hair, depending on what I'm wearing, because I have this punky vibe, and because that's quintessential me as a person, and so I kind of bring that on stage. This is the most wigs I've ever worn on Drag Race. So when I don't wear a wig, there's no reason for me to actually paint my beard because it
Right.
matches. It's the continuation of my hair. And when I do wear a wig outside of Drag Race, it's usually my natural color. So I'm not used to incorporating the beard in the makeup. I love it in many queens. I mean, um, who could I cite as an example? Winner of UK.
Danny
What's her
Beard.
name?
Danny Beard.
Mhm.
Brittany Beard. Thank you.
Yeah.
Love what she does with the beard and everything. It's just not something I've ever incorporated in my personal aesthetics. What I usually don't like is the glitter beards.
Mm.
It just look. It looks
And
dirty
it's so
and
messy. As someone that's done it several times, you're gonna be dealing with glitter for months.
that's my life. But I'm
Yeah,
okay with that. But even the aesthetic of it, it looks scratchy and you just want to, ugh. Yeah. So not a fan of that. But coloring it, I would be interested in experiencing more with it. If it does much, if it has sense, if it's
Yeah.
significant, then yes, I would definitely be interested in trying more stuff.
Yeah, that was the one thing I was like, I loved it when you did it that time. I was like, yes, it looks so good.
Mhm.
The only last time I wanted you to do it was at the finale. I was like, the red with the hair and the dress, it would have just been so good with the red beard. I would have been like,
Mm,
oh, this is perfect. But I also
I
respect
agree.
I also respect the decisions that you decide to make for yourself and your drag. So I was like,
Yeah.
Maybe she didn't see the need to do it, but I would have just, me personally,
But I
that's no
agree,
other.
and I was agreeing when you mentioned it in the previous podcast. So I was like, yeah, that's very true. I could have done this, and I could do that. I could try that. It's just that it almost never would have made sense before the show, and so I
Mhm.
didn't prepare that for the show. It's not like I didn't integrate it in my thought process because I'm not used to it. But the more you were talking about it, and the more I saw it on the screen, I was like, yeah, definitely, there's something I could experiment with and have fun with actually.
I mean, we never stop learning. I think my
Mhm.
grandfather said
Mm.
the best. The day we stop learning is the day we die. So we always continue to learn and to continue to grow. And some stuff we don't think about. And then somebody bring it up, you be like, oh, I've done that. That would
Yeah,
have been so smart. And so you
Yeah.
learn. Yeah, absolutely.
Was there
and I'm not
anything
about to
else?
die.
Yeah, I was gonna
Mhm.
say, was there anything else seeing your drag on TV, like having like coloring the beard? Was there anything else you saw that you said, "Oh, I'm definitely gonna keep doing that a little bit more in my drag," or "Oh, I'm definitely not doing that ever again"?
Well, wigs.
Ooh.
I'm not a
Fair.
big wig person, so
Yeah.
yes, I do like wigs on me when it's done right
Mhm.
and you've actually paid for a nice wig. Like the makeover wig, I'm extremely happy about.
Yes.
Mhm.
Goes well with the black beard as well. Like
Yes.
you had a combo of me wearing a wig and doing something with my beard.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, definitely wigs I want to explore a bit more. What I don't want to do ever again is roller skate. Uh,
I don't blame you in the
and
slightest.
say that again.
I don't blame you in the slightest.
Yeah, thank you. Don't blame me. No, but seriously, I am also willing to work on my dancing skills. Because it's once again not a big part of what I do in my daily drag, and I tend to build my acts with what I know how to do. And I'm a bit yet like, like to name a few famous drag queens. I'm not comparing myself to them, but I have the same kind of approach. If you look at Sasha Velour, if you look at Jinx Monsoon, they're not doing choreo. They're moving and they have grace and they know how to use their bodies, but they're not doing choreos. I was actually talking about this with my therapist on, on Tuesday, and I'm not even kidding. And she was telling me, there are two paths that you can take here. You can either try and work on your weaker points, or you can try and refine what you do best. The only thing you need to ask yourself is how much time am I willing to lose to deal with the things I'm less good at? And I've realized that I don't want to keep bumping on a wall that I know is dancing. So I'd rather find my way around that wall and make it work without having to commit and lose too much time learning something that would take me years to master because I'm 37 and I was not raised as a dancer or a musician or anything, as I said previously, anything related to movement. So might as well work a bit on it, but not trying to achieve something I'll never be able to achieve and focus on the things that I'm best at.
Absolutely. Nobody's saying you got to go out and become a world famous dancer. But all you have to learn how to do be comfortable in body movement. And there are things and teachers and classes for just body movement to just show you how to feel comfortable at moving nobody's saying we got to learn hip hop and jazz and ballet and tap and do all of that. And no,
That's exactly what I'm saying, Lana. What are you talking about?
you can't do all of that.
I can actually. I was a dancer growing up.
You can do ballet, jazz, tap, and hip hop.
It's
I
been
can't.
a minute.
I
It's
can't
been
wait.
a minute.
I'll see you in LA. I can't wait to see you do it. Just saying. Just saying. Just know I'm putting it on notice. But yeah, you can just show how to just move your body and be comfortable. I love that for you. I love that you're like, you know what? I know what my weakest points are. The self-awareness that you are showing in this interview for me is just so refreshing because some people are a little delusional. We like, no, I'm the best dancer. I can do hip hop, jazz, and Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I don't know for sure, but yeah.
You don't need to call out Gabbana like that.
Who said that? Wow. But yeah, go ahead, David. I know you have a question.
Yes, I do. So I want to move on to episode 6, where you get your second win. So this is where we see the challenge, the Murder on the Orient Express challenge. And you, since you won the reading challenge, congratulations.
Word.
You got to divide the roles. So I want to know what your strategy, because you presented a couple of different strategies that you could use in dividing the roles. What ultimately did you decide upon when giving out the roles?
So the actual process of giving the roles was a very surprising for me because I was put in a corner of the workroom and there was no group talk, which is usually what happens.
Mhm.
Everyone talks with everyone and then we bicker and then I decide.
Right.
But there was no group talk. I was left alone in a corner and they would have to come to me and have this kind of casting couch moment. So I basically did what you can see on the show, which is listen to everyone, write down who wants to do what, realize everyone wants to do the same, and and try my best at making everyone happy. So literally what happened, the only person who mentioned the train controller was Lulu. She's the only one who mentioned it, and anyone was like, "You're the train controller
But
because
then
you're
she
the
was
only one who
upset
said
when she
I
got it.
don't care." Yeah. Um, I've tried to make Gabbana the train controller because it made sense to me in terms of how the character was written, but she said no, so I didn't give it to her. I've literally listened to everyone's desires. No one mentioned the main character. No one. No one. And I mean, we've talked more than what you've seen on TV, but even from what was cut off, no one mentioned her. So it's like, okay, this is for me, I guess. I could have done it differently, but as I think I said in the episode, I still wanted the challenge to be fun and to give a good, nice acting challenge at the end of the day. Um, because there's nothing worse than an awful acting challenge where you just see the people struggling. If everyone is bad, the episode's gonna be bad.
Right.
So let's keep it quality and yeah.
And this was one where I was a little critical because I really liked you in the challenge, but I thought that mustache that you had, it covered up like almost your entire mouth. And I know it was not your choice to have that mustache, but did you feel constricted by that?
It was I didn't get it. They brought it to me and they were very happy about it. They were like, look at this amazing mustache we have for you. You're like, are you kidding? Like,
already have a mustache. You don't need a mustache.
Yeah.
Like,
Or at least one that goes out and not down and covers your mouth.
not from my mouth. It just in terms of acting, pure acting, like face expressions, and even the actual talking, it was in the way. It was in the way of the expressions, it was in the way of the sound. It was just, yeah. What was very hard for me in terms of I was self-criticizing myself for that. The text, sorry, the actual phrasing, the actual sentences, the actual written text was so one note
Mm.
that it was hard to be something else that this kind of a wacky character. And I would have loved more nuances, but every scene is me interrogating someone, and the someone gets the spotlight to showcase their personality. But me, I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
flatlining throughout the whole thing. Maybe I could have put more nuances myself, but I wasn't directed like that either by Rita or anything. So watching it back, I feel like I'm a bit hysterical and I'm a bit like too much, which is kind of what you go for in an acting challenge. You go for parody and telenovela vibes. But I don't know. I'm not extremely happy with the results. Because once again, I know I can do better than that. Blah 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 blah. But we are tired and we do what we can with what we have, and we didn't have much time to learn that text, and there was a huge loss for me. Yeah, I would have loved the text to be a bit more interesting for my character, allowing more diversity in what I could have done, but it was one emotion through and through, interrogating suspects
Right.
and drawing conclusions.
And that's kind of what
I was
Chloe
not.
said. It's kind of what Chloe said as well. She obviously she had the additional language barrier on top of all of that, but she was telling us that it wasn't the most well written with the most detail and nuance in the world. So
Yeah. But I'm
it
pretty
makes
sure.
sense
Everyone
why.
knows,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think all of your sisters that we've talked to have been like, yeah, she had to learn so many lines. So they all
Mm.
gave you credit there. So I think you did have the biggest challenge and you really rose to it. Um, Even if other people had smaller parts and they had like memorable moments that could really grab our attentions, you were kind of the straight man character and you were very consistent in it and absolutely worthy of that win.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. It's true that I panicked at one point when I said, "Okay, I'm gonna take her. I'm the only one willing to do it." And then we started learning it, and I went through the pages again. And it was like so much text for the time we had. I mean, it's not the biggest text I've ever had to memorize, but for the very few hours that we had, it was very daunting at one moment. And I'm a bit um not sad, but I liked when she said that in the critiques that were cut off, edited out. Rita praised me for the memory and the fact that I had a lot of text, but also it's not shown, so that's probably why they edited it out. But I've helped a lot of the others with the text, like when they were struggling with it, I was um how do you say that in English? I was giving them their lines basically
Yeah.
when they had
Fe-
forgotten about
feeding them their
theirs.
lines.
Yeah. And Rita praised me for that. She said that I was very listening to the others and very
There you go.
I'm getting tired. My English is going
It's
through the window. Uh
very, very helpful.
so yeah, supportive of the others and trying to help them through the challenge. But it doesn't show in the episode, so I guess that's why they edited the critique out. But I was actually happy that someone noticed, in the context of the workroom and how we work, that someone pointed out the fact that yes, I'm a bit of this kind of mother hen person
Mm-hmm.
because that's who I am. Uh, Safira Crystal in season 16 that
Mhm.
she's very motherly and everything. That's a bit
Our
me.
favorite.
We're not exactly copies of each other, but this is kind of my kind of vibes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thinking about it, yeah. Because a lot of what we did see of you in the workroom, I agree, was you being very nurturing. And when we talked to Alvilda, she talked a lot about that as well behind the scenes, also being there for her. So I definitely got that energy from you.
But did
Mhm.
she talk about? I can't remember. I've watched the episode yesterday, but there's this moment that we were both looking forward for, and that has been edited out. As for her roller skate runway, she has those contact lenses, but she doesn't know how to put them. So I was the one to put the lenses in
Oh,
her
wow.
eyes,
Oh,
and
Oh.
it took like 10 minutes. It was hell because I had to keep her eye open, but
mhm.
she couldn't control it. I was with my finger in her eyes. I kept on telling her, I'm getting close, I'm gonna touch, and the crew was like, oh my God, we need to record this. This is amazing. So they brought the cameras and everything. And so we had to do it like in front of the cameras. And then it's not in the episode. So there you go.
Wow.
But it was a struggle putting those lenses on Alvilda.
I've only tried once, and my friend wanted me to put on some that he bought. I could not do it. I tried, and I'm like, my
I couldn't
eyes
either.
keep closing every time I try. I cannot control it.
Took
Yeah. So it
forever
was a
for.
struggle, but it was a very cute moment, very bonding moment as well, because I was literally hands-on helping her. Oh well.
Well, here's the part of the episode where I am going to give a formal apology to you about your runway. This was the Saxy theme. where
Oh,
on the podcast, I came on and I'm like, I'm not really sure I don't know how this look relates to the theme. I don't know why there's glitter on her. It looks like dust, but I completely missed the subtitles here. And in my defense, in the US drag race, a lot of the times when they're walking down the runway, they're just being like, I look so fierce, blah, blah, blah. They're not explaining their looks. So
true.
so I was not counting on all of the looks being explained. So I'm just taking notes and watching the looks, but I completely missed the context. And thankfully, you were able to further explain in our comments. So I appreciate that. And I'm sorry for not noticing the first time.
Don't worry. I think my whole explanation is not even in the episode because I literally said, and I know for a fact that they cut that I was dusting off Adolf Sachs from the attic, which is why I keep on doing this because I'm dusty because I've been in the attic for
I
so
got
long.
it. I got it.
Well,
But it
maybe
would
if
have
you
been
had been
easier
there.
if they left my comment. Like if it was in the episode, everybody would get it.
Mhm.
I mean, I got it too, and I was there, and I said that. That's what I mean. I was like, it's because we were like I felt like the character of Veuve is like ghostly older widow, like somebody who hasn't done some things. So, like, you want me to bring out a saxophone? I gotta go look in my attic and dust off the old sax that I got, and when you started dusting it off, I was like, that gotta be it because that's why the sax is not gold like everybody else's sax. It's silver. It has faded. It has lost its sheen. It's dusty. I kind of liked it. I did. I was like, I get it. I got the sax part just wrapped around you. I did want more in the dress, but I was like, I get the whole idea and the concept of it all. I got it.
But it's also hard to do a saxophone runway because what the hell are you supposed to do for a saxophone runway?
Absolutely. Which is what everybody said who came through. It was like, what are we supposed to do with a saxophone runway? And I was like, I get it. I would have been stumped too. Like, what do you want me to walk out with a saxophone on my neck? What do you want from me? Like,
Do you want me to paint myself like a saxophone? Like, no.
that's crazy. So when you get these briefs and they're telling you all these things that they need you to do, what these themes of the runway are, what was the one that you looked at and was like, I'm sure the saxophone, but which one was the one that you looked at and was like, what? You want me to do what? Like, are you kidding me?
Well, saxophone and roller skates. I was like,
Mhm.
are you trying to kill us and make us ridiculous in doing so? Thank you.
On television. Thank you.
Belgian inventions, that's the reason why. I
Mhm.
swear, they also invented macadam. What is going to happen in season 3? I'm
Right.
scared, people. I am scared.
Oh man, poor girls.
Like
Poor.
tarmac, they're gonna have a tarmac runway, and that's gonna be lovely. And I can't wait.
Honestly, I would love to see that. I think it might be same quality as the saxophone, but I kind of want to see a tarmac runway.
Sickening. Just all black markings on.
Oh no, everyone will just dress up like Plain Jane.
Plain.
Or plain.
Mhm.
Very plain.
But okay,
incredibly plain.
Logan, come back to us. Come back to us. We're talking about Veuve here.
It's a plain Jane rabbit hole.
Yes, because Logan will go there, and we will be here for another 2 hours.
What do you mean?
Just saying. But yeah, so the next runway. This one is the one. Well, this is the episode that someone decided to walk back in and decided to crap all over it and call it a filler after not being there for 3 weeks. But
I did not call Veuve filler.
You said Veuve.
But also,
I said
okay, yes, I'm just clarifying. But I also, I say it every time that there's a makeover episode. I find them boring. And it's for every Drag Race season for the most part. I just don't like a makeover challenge.
I just love how people feel like they have to defend themselves, but it's fine.
I plan on it, and it's not.
I love it for you.
Just, I don't like a makeover. Well, if you're gonna come for me this hard,
I am. I do. I have to.
But
But no, for real though, it was because the only reason I'm coming for Logan this hard is because I really, really enjoyed this episode, and for Logan to come back that just and very start off this podcast was like, this episode was a filler episode. And I was like, wait, what? What this episode? Like out of all the episodes you could have called a filler, you come back for this one, and I loved
Yes,
it. And I loved it because of you and your brother's story. That was
agreed.
honestly the reason I love this episode so much. I didn't sugarcoat it for anybody who came. Your story and Alvilda's story was the reasons I love this episode. But for you especially,
And Lulu had a great story too. I want to throw that
that's
out there.
not who I enjoyed. I know I'm saying who I enjoyed, David. This is who I enjoyed. It was Alvilda and it was Veuve. That's it. For me.
Gabbana's designer was good too.
I liked who I liked. Please stop trying to change my mind and make me say things I don't want to say. I liked.
I'm not changing your mind. I'm just also bringing up Gabbana so no one left out.
Gabbana was here. We talked to Gabbana already. I'm talking to Veuve. Do you all mind, please? Anyway, Veuve, I'm talking to you. I liked your story, and that's what made me enjoy this whole episode, like the most. You and your brother coming to like having this relationship where you love each other, but you don't have y'all were still trying to figure things out. Y'all have you know what? You're my brother. I love you. We don't talk about all the other stuff that we do in each other's lives. Your life is your life. My life is my life. And that's great. But this moment, seeing him realize what you do and who you are as Veuve for the first time, I was just like, I was captivated. I was like, I want to know everything. I want to know how he feels, how she feels, how they are bonding, like all the other stories. I'm like, yeah. Go back to them. I want to know what they're talking about. What was that moment like to have your brother there to experience what you do and introducing him to Veuve?
It was extremely surprising and surprisingly intense in terms of, as I do say in the episode, we kind of live on different planets, and that's fine. And we do get along and we love each other, but we are just extremely separate. Like we don't share much in terms of hobbies and passions, and we don't see each other that often. We usually see each other when there's a family gathering, but we don't like hang out or whatever. I'm the godfather of his daughter, and I spend more time with her than I do with him. Like, um, that we don't have much of a connection. So when he got out of that box, I was like, okay, this can go either way.
Mm-hmm.
Or on one hand, he can go along for the ride and make the most of it and get to delve a bit into what I do, or he's going to be just blocked and the magic is not going to happen. Luckily enough, it was the first case situation, but yeah, I'm not going to lie, there was a bit of me who was a bit like awkward because I know my brother, he's older than I am, he's this quite um, genuine and frank kind of straight guy vibe, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and he speaks loud. He's taking a lot of space and everything. I was like, I'm gonna have to deal with that. I'm gonna have to keep it down. I'm gonna have to almost like I was apologizing for him. And then I realized like he was getting along with everyone and he was interested. He was asking questions and everyone welcomed him with open arms. And I felt a bit ashamed of the awkwardness I first felt because I was like, I'm trying to protect them from the brother that is straight and strange. When I honestly should have gone with the flow and introduce him and everything. So that opened my eyes on who my brother is and how he's received. Um, I don't have to apologize for who he is because I respect who he is and I should expect the same from the other people. I'm not gonna give them a trigger warning, straight guy coming. I mean, this is not what it's about. So I was very kind of moved that, yeah, I got to see my brother under a different light. And that's something that is not talked about in the episode. And then, of course, on the other side, there's me showing up who I am to my brother.
Right.
But at the end of the day, maybe that was less intense for me than looking at my brother and being like, hey, there's nothing wrong with who he is.
Mhm.
That's quite, the tables have turned. But not that I ever thought that there was something wrong with him, but it
Mhm.
was, yeah, just, a slight switch of perspective on
Right.
who he is and how I present him to the rest of the world. And then, yeah, him discovering me and seeing how genuinely interested he was and, authentically caring and wanting to do best. I think he stole the show. I think he's the reason why I won the episode, not the outfits, not the makeup, nothing. It's him.
Mhm.
It's him living the life. And
100%
he was the
him.
only straight person as well. All the rest of the loved ones were had a connection to drag and everything. So I was, and I'm not saying that as a way to boast or anything, but I was coming from further down the road than they were.
Mhm.
Um, and the fact that he embraced it so willfully, I think that really helps. Um, a lot of people say I want Gypsy because of him. And I definitely agree to a certain extent. I don't want to downplay what I've done either, but it definitely sure helps. I would have loved the episode more if we all got straight guys, if we all got a
Mm,
straight
Mhm.
brother or something.
Yeah,
It was kind of disjointed. The loved ones.
it
It,
was.
it didn't make much sense in terms of who they were bringing. Yes, they were loved ones, but the levels and the implication was so different that
mhm.
I would have loved something a bit more like that we all had to deal with someone who
Mhm.
would have this kind of epiphany.
Right.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that. But it does. Your win was not just because of your brother. It was he had a very big part of it. But the looks that you did and the makeup was beautiful. I loved the all black and the story that you all created. It was a great story. The fact that we had the widow and the daughter and the sugar daddy. It was just a good concept.
Yeah.
Like everything about your runway and the presentation of it was good. It was so good, and I enjoyed it the most. And so I think we can never downplay what you did because without you, there would be no concept of all of this, and he probably would have been just a straight man walking down a runway in a dress, and you would have been like, oh, "Hold on, that's not." You had to show him how to be the queen, and it showed in the episode. So you
Yep.
have nothing to. You should just always be proud of this episode and that win because it
Mhm.
was highly deserved and nobody could take that away because it was the best performance of that night for me personally.
Yes, I think you did very well in this, and you should have nothing to be ashamed for. But this is so interesting what you just said because it was making me really think about how I interact when I'm around my parents because I'm not out to my parents. So just being around them, it's like I'm code switching with them too. I'm just interact so completely different than I do around other people in my life, even with my coworkers. I don't they might assume I'm gay. I'm not sure. I don't tell them, uh, but I just interact with them so completely differently. And I know you're out to your brother, but I'm sure there's still some of that. Like I've got a code switch. I gotta be what my family knows me to be, and not be my full self. So I think we slowly saw the real you, the full you, get introduced to your brother, which was super cool to watch.
Hmm.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. I have a few notes about that episode too. I just want to point out the fact that we were also stuck, and I also won because we were stuck in the mother-daughter relationship.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Ugh,
Which
not
you all
gonna
didn't
say
know
much
about,
more. Yeah,
correct?
we did know, and
Oh,
I went all the way through it with a literal mother and daughter.
okay.
But I wish we had more uh, room around the theme to be able to be a bit more creative, and we got out of the mother-daughter pattern relationship, that there was more to do with it. And of course it helped me because I went for the literal mother-daughter, but yeah, I wish there would have been more leeway around it.
Mm-hmm.
And a second note, I've tried throughout the season to kind of shield myself from comments and, Twitter and the sewer of the internet. And at the end of that episode, it's the win I'm the most proud of because of the whole thing with the brother and everything. And at the end of that episode, I was like, cool. I am proud of me. This is a nice episode. The whole storytelling is cute. I'm gonna go read the comments. I need a little ego boost.
No. No.
Jesus Christ. Oh my God. The social network, the toxicity of the fandom. Alvilda hasn't won that episode and everyone was burning cars. And then Logan was talking about a filler episode. So even you were not feeling.
And I didn't say you should have won. I said Alvilda should have won.
That Alvilda should have won, and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was the defender of Veuve that episode. I was like, "Are y'all kidding me?"
I wasn't here.
No, David was.
Yeah, we know.
It was just me and Logan. But look, he had a right to leave 1 week. You left 3.
I'm just also, if we're pointing out the fact that I was gone for 3 weeks, we're going to point out the fact that David was gone for 1. No.
Yeah.
And I will own, since I wasn't here, I did say Alvilda was my winner too. So I hate to add to the fuel, but I thought you did very well too.
Absolutely.
Like, it was not one where you could be mad that somebody wasn't chosen over the other personally.
Yeah, that's not what I was pointing out. Of course, I was not fishing for compliments. The thing is, I didn't go online to see people praise me. I just wanted this kind of, positive energy, and everyone is entitled to opinions. I love what Alvilda did and everything, but what I was confronted to when I go and read some comments was like comparing for the sake of comparing and putting me down because Alvilda didn't win. So there was this kind of violence in what the people were writing. It was not, oh, I'm sad Alvilda didn't win. It was Veuve should not have won because Alvilda is much better. Yeah. And I'm keeping it polite. But I was gagged that week because I was really like, I'm so proud. I want to rejoice and I want to bask in that lovely positive feeling. And then, bah! Never open Twitter.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
They don't know how to lift up their fave without tearing down other people. I'm like, it's a way you could have been like, I wish Alvilda should have won that. Full stop. That's it. Alvilda should have won that. Not Alvilda should have won that, comma, and Veuve is crap. Like, come on. You could just stop it at, I think Alvilda should have won that. But people are, they're not that smart. I don't understand this. I'm learning that this Drag Race fandom is almost as bad probably as bad as Big Brother fandom that I'm sure
it's worse. Lana, it's worse.
Yeah, probably worse.
It's worse.
It's worse.
Probably worse because it's so like every week I look on the Drag Race now that my algorithm is starting to show more of the fandom. I see more of it and I'm like, ew. You all are gross. You are the grossest people in the world. Like they are telling people to kill themselves over a Drag Race show. Like you really should prioritize your life. Like
and as I say every time we talk about it, because I hate that. And I hope, again, I'm going to reiterate, I hope that none of our listeners would be doing that. And if you are, stop. Unsubscribe from here because you don't need to be here and move along with yourselves. But at the end of the day, most of these people making these comments are hiding behind a keyboard and have never gone to see an actual drag show in their life.
And they don't put up their real face.
Oh, absolutely not. So go support your fave, don't tear down other people, and go tip your local drag queen. End of story.
Yep. And there was a question that that Logan actually asked in that podcast.
Oh my
specifically
God, the beard
directed to
date.
you. Yes. And I was wondering if, Logan, would you like to re-ask your question right now? Because I
I
was wondering too.
honestly, in this current moment, I don't
True.
remember what that
Oh,
question
well,
was.
Levev, would you like to ask?
Why did I shave my brother?
Oh, what's happening with this beard? Why the beard, ma'am? The beard.
The
The
beard gate. That's how I nicknamed it. It's the beard gate.
please, yes. Thank you all for jogging my memory. Why and for what reason?
I'm waiting for the end of that question.
That's it.
That's all. The
Why-
question is why and for what reason? That is the question.
To get back. Get back at him.
Okay, so why did I shave my brother and glue a fake one on his face?
Uh-huh.
So,
Uh-huh.
is there a way to mute Logan?
There is.
I got you. I got
We can use the trap door too. No.
No, so
you.
when we have to prepare for the makeover, we have absolutely no clue who's gonna be there. We just have a makeover theme, which is mother, daughter, blah blah blah. So I came up with the whole widow and orphan at a funeral. I have this dress that would have fitted anyone because it was literally a big poofy thing. It might have looked better on someone else, but I had to make it work on my brother. It looks better on me, I swear. Anyways, so I prepared the whole set. So I had the dress, I had I actually had little baby Jane, Mary Jane shoes, but I got read by Rita on the Saxy runway for not having high enough heels. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna give Mary Jane's to my daughter. She's gonna wear fucking high heels because we don't want to go there anymore. So I had the little hat, and I prepared the little fake beard, with a little bow on it, actually. Um, because I had no clue who was going to be there. So it turned out to be my brother, who indeed has a beard. Um, my train of thought was it's going to be La Veuve's little girl. She's going to be literally a child. I don't want a child to have a full-on beard because I want a child to still look like a child. So what do I do with the beard? If we keep it, it's gonna be full. There's no way of like. And then I was like, is it long enough to try and do a goatee kind of thing, a little like Jafar-esque kind of thingy? And the beard of my brother is actually patchy and not long enough. So I was like, that's gonna look like crap if there's just like this kind of metro ticket in the middle of his chin. And I had this fake one, so I was like, you know what? I have this fake one. It's got a bow on it that's made of the fabric of the dress. So you want to get the full experience? Shave the beard. And he was like, yes, I want to try and shave my beard. I want to do the whole thing, blah blah blah. I just don't want to shave my eyebrows. Okay, then do it and let's go for it.
Okay.
And that's the gist of it. I've considered keeping the beard. I've considered just shaving it in a way that would be interesting. And at the end of the day, it was like, I prepared this little thingy. I'm crossing my fingers it's gonna be the right choice, and I used that instead of his real hair.
It makes
There you
sense.
go.
It absolutely does make sense knowing that there weren't that many other options and that it was, on the patchier side. It makes sense. Give him the full experience.
I can relate.
I can't.
I know.
So yeah, a lot of people ask me the questions actually, and I don't have a more specific answer than that. And
Of
at the
course.
moment of the thing, it was like you had to take the decision as well, because if the beer was gone, that was the first step. So
Yeah.
we talked about it for like 10 minutes. I was like, I have this. Do you want to wear this? Oh yes, why not? Do you want to, or do you prefer shaving a little bit of the beard? I'm not sure. Do you want to shave it also? You do it the full experience? Yes, let's do it. And that was
Sure.
it.
Totally.
Was it the best choice of the options? I don't know, but this is what we went with.
It
So
worked.
I think
You
he
still-
secretly
you
wanted
still
the
won.
little bow.
So it don't matter.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
afterwards. And I kind of think he really wanted the little thingy with the bow on, and he wanted.
It
He's
was
quite
cute.
playful, so I think he wanted he liked the idea of gluing a fake beard that has some kind of appeal to him.
Sure. So we go from the high of your third win, getting this whole experience with your brother, and then we go to the finale, and there's more dancing, Lvev. There's more dancing, and a lip sync tournament out of seemingly nowhere.
Which song that no one knows about except
Well,
one
oh,
that we've seen
Talk
on
us
many seasons.
right. Talk us through this whole
oh,
finale.
wait, I have to say though,
Uh-huh.
because the finale, yeah, it happened. What I have to say is when it came to the
Filler
dance,
episode.
I
No,
know
because I was
I know
very entertained.
and someone said it could have been an email. Someone likes to say, but no. This one though, I felt like the choreography for this one because we got the Musti mix, which was fun, and you had to come up with this stuff. What I was just like, okay, I kind of like it, and I felt like you did this because you know how much you need to help, you want to help, and blah blah blah. When it got to the choreography, and the choreographer was like, listen. And I think this is where the editing, I was like, okay, I think y'all editors, y'all doing it. The choreographer said, okay, listen, you ask me what you need to ask me, it's fine. We're going to make it work. You don't hesitate to ask. And it's like, okay, are y'all ready? And the minute they did it, you were like, excuse me, can we do this? What about this? Do my hand go here? Do my hand go here? Do I step here? Do I move here? And then as soon as you stop, Lulu was like, okay, wait.
Mhm.
So do I turn here or do I turn there? Is my head up here? Is my hand down here? And it was like, okay. And between the both of you, you were like, look here. You said don't hesitate to ask. I'm not gonna hesitate to ask. I'm gonna
We're gonna
ask.
ask.
Do my foot go to the left or to the right? Do my hand go this way or am I holding it this way? Do I put my head up here? Do I put my head down here? It was the funniest thing, but I was like, you better ask them questions so you ain't gonna get on that stage looking crazy. I loved every second of that.
Mhm.
I think I told Logan and David, I was like, that was the funniest thing to me. I loved every second of it. I loved every second. It was like, look here, I'm not gonna go on there and look crazy. So here, here, here. Do like it was good. And you did it and you rocked it. I will say y'all did a good job in that final choreography dance. So that's all I have to say. I won't say nothing else.
Yeah, what did you think of the choreography session? Were you happy with how it turned out?
It's terrified. Honestly, when we heard that it was another dancing challenge, I almost crumbled down. Um, so was Lulu. We were, and that's also why we kept on asking questions. That was our last bit of energy, and I clearly remember, and we had to go through the routine 1,000 times, and at some point we opened the act and we were like that, and Lulu and myself were at the back and we were looking at each other, and I could see in our faces that if one of us gave up at that moment and cried, it was over. And we didn't. None of us did. We just I remember telling her like, we can't. This is literally the finale. We cannot let go right now. We have to go through it. It's dancing, and neither of us is good at it. I'm even worse than she is. But we were like, we have to bite the bullet and go through, and that's what we did. We were exhausted, and it went on forever, and it was complicated. You have no clue how it downplayed it because he realized this was going too far for all of us, including Alvilda. It was too
Mhm.
complicated. He was extremely enthusiastic about what he was going to teach us, but that was just too much. So it was, I'm not gonna lie, once again, it was hell for me. I take very long time to, remember the steps. It really takes twice the amount of time that a regular person takes for me, and we didn't have that kind of time. And so it was purely, by heart and not at all felt in my body. It was not it was not. Um, my body didn't get the time to just incorporate it. It was just remembering in my head all the time what I had to do instead of, having it flowy and smooth. It was not that. There was no time for that. So I was scared shitless the whole thing, including when we did the challenge. We had so few energy left that it was just about being done with it, being through and moving on. So we just did it. And at the end of the day, it was still better for me than the girls group in terms of what I've done. My performance definitely better, even though it was more complicated and everything. I felt more at ease and a bit less ashamed of what is on screen, a bit prouder, if proud is a big word. Um, but also what mattered most to me were the actual feedback from the choreographer, who pointed out the fact that when I move the way I move, I actually move. And he said grace. He said I've grace, which I'm still laughing about. But there's something true there. And that's what I was explaining earlier when I talked about it with my therapist, that I know how I function. The problem is when you try to put me in a choreo that I have to learn because it's going to be synchronized with other people and blah, blah, blah. And you have to remember and do moves and steps that people who dance are actually used to, and I'm not. But let me put me on a stage with some music. That's still my job. That's still what I do for a living. So yes, I know how to move on a stage. Choreo, no. Moving, yes. That was a choreo. So there we go. I did my best.
You did move with grace, like, and when when the choreographer said it, I was like, that makes sense, because even though it might not be what you think what it should be for a professional dancer, when you move for you, it was graceful. And so I understood what he said, and I appreciated that. I'm glad that he said that, so it could give you some kind of a, like, to let you know that yes, what you're doing is good. You're doing good. And it's at that point in the competition, I felt like everybody should be getting flowers and praise, and because y'all made it to the finale. And so you deserved to be praised for being there. So, and because y'all did so well throughout this competition. So I felt like everybody deserves praise and, good critiques from the judges. And I was upset that didn't happen for everybody in this episode. And I was like, what do you mean you wait till the last episode, the finale of an episode, to start telling people that they're not doing so great? What do you mean that you wait to the last episode to tell somebody they're not being vulnerable enough? So now this person has to have all this weight on their shoulders going into a finale, which also brings the tension in the workroom with all the rest of the girls, because now they feel the need to console the person who you decide to tell on the last episode that they're not being vulnerable enough, bringing the whole vibe and mood of the workroom and these four deserving queens who busted their butt the whole time and who should be praised. Now they have to sit in this workroom with the weight of a finale on their shoulders and still have to comfort someone and say, no, 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 girl, you are enough. You did enough. You're good enough. At the end of the road, what? I was a little, what was the moment? What was that vibe like in the workroom for y'all? Because for us watching, I was like, this is the worst thing you do in a finale, when these four girls have all this stress on their shoulders for being in a finale. Like, oh, what was that like?
Um, I've known Alvilda for years, and I know how emotional she is. I don't know if she told you, but she is Cancer with Cancer rising. So she's the drama. And the moment that critique came up on the runway was like, oh my fucking God, are you kidding me? Do you really want to destroy her for her last moment on the show? And I knew the first thing I wanted to do when we got in Untucked was like run and ask her how she was doing and take her in my arms and tell her this is bullshit. And no one believes it. And no one actually thinks that what she said is true. Obviously, I couldn't do that because it was untucked and we were on camera and blah 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 blah. But I knew, in the back of my mind, there was a hamster panicking in a wheel. Like, I need to do something. This is not going to go well. I know her by heart, and that's exactly what happened. She just burst into tears because what else? You've just been told you're not vulnerable enough when you have shown vulnerability the whole season. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, she doesn't. The judge doesn't see everything that we do see. But girls, I mean, seriously,
How you
I don't
gonna have
know
me
if
on the
that
moon like
comment
that?
was it actually what she thought? Was it the production who just pulled on the strings? Were they trying to create drama, make her vulnerable? Was she paid to be mean? I don't know. I don't know. But the results
Was
were the
she
same
just
at
a
the end of the
bad
day.
judge
So,
that shouldn't come back for season 3?
Oh,
Ooh.
what's season 3?
oh,
Oh,
oh, oh
Well,
my.
I'm staying optimistic,
oh
but
no.
sure.
About to say, oh my. I wouldn't take it. I mean, all I know is it just was the timing was so awful and
Mhm.
so bad. And I was just like, that's not because, like you said, the judge don't see everything. They don't see her in the workroom. They don't see how vulnerable she is and how lovely and sweet and kind of a person she is off the runway. But I'm like, what do you mean? On the runway, she ain't supposed to be vulnerable. She's hit that switch and she's performing. That's what she is on the runway. It's a performance, it's an act. So no, if Alvilda's character is not a person who's she ain't gonna be that vulnerable person, and that's not who she is. She's a strong, powerful woman, and so she strut that runway like a strong, powerful woman. We ain't vulnerable when we don't need to be, but when we have to be, you know. I love, but yeah, I found that so ugh, ugh.
Yeah, it
I
didn't make
said
any
it.
sense.
It didn't make any sense. But I don't want to stay there too long because we do have the lip sync out of nowhere to talk about because that seemed to come out of nowhere.
For us,
Where
at
did,
least.
for us, where did it come from? How long did y'all know that was happening?
We didn't.
Ooh,
We didn't know that
ooh.
we didn't know there would be Lala Peruza before the last episode. The only hint that we had is that we had learned too many songs compared to the number of episodes.
Mhm.
But that could have meant anything. That could have meant there would be, different lip syncs, or they would scrap some of the songs and they just send too many just in case. So we
Right.
didn't know before the actual finale that there would be a La Perusa, and we
Sure.
didn't have outfits anymore, and we had our
Well,
finale fucking dresses. I had
which was
this
great, by the way. We love that.
It
Your,
was
it was
fantastic.
your finale dress was
once
amazing.
again one
Yes.
dress that doesn't translate as well on TV as it does in real
Mm,
life. It looks flatter and you don't see the details. The photo shoot is coming soon, so go and check it out if you have the chance because it's a wonderful piece. It's the most expensive I've ever owned, and it's filled with those little fetish details like the there's a lot of Jesus, my English rings and those beads and metal pieces
Mhm.
all over. It's gorgeous, but it's very flat on TV. But it weighs a ton for fucking lips.
the way you were
Ah,
lifting it
it
up.
weighs a ton.
Mm.
Oh,
And would you have
And
rather
it's
done
PVC.
physical or warrior?
I was happy with Warrior.
Okay.
I mean, physical,
I would have
you
loved to
leave.
see. I would have loved to see you do physical in that
Me
gown.
too. Okay.
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I would have loved to see it. Just it. Not that I'm praying for your downfall here, but I think it would have been an entertaining TV
Good
moment.
TV, definitely good TV. Yeah, no, I'm glad that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Warrior was okay. It's just that it's also not a very good lip sync song,
No.
as was the other one, the last one, the hyphen two. Well, this one was okay-ish, but Warrior
Better.
is
It was better for sure.
no, it's not interesting. There's not much you can do. Once again, limited by my outfit. Lulu at the
Mhm.
reveal, which was a very nice. Her outfit was
So
out of
good.
this world. The whole knit thing, I mean,
Mhm.
We loved it.
gagged. And then the
So good.
reveal, like once again, all the internet says she should have won the lip sync. I kind of agree, but I think I was going to the finale because of my 3 wins,
Hmm.
and I don't care. Honestly, at that point, we didn't care anymore.
Fair.
Lulu's my sister. I've known her for more than 10 years.
Mhm.
We
Um,
saw her all over your Instagram and we're like,
Yep,
oh,
we did.
okay.
Yep.
yeah, yeah, I've known her before she was Lulu. So,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
I've seen her first makeup with her fingers and black.
Wow.
So, yeah, we go a long way. And there was no competition in the terms of, oh, I want to win this thing. No, it was just let's do our best and we'll see what comes out of
Yeah.
it. And I'm not extremely happy with what I've done on that song. I'm happier with what I've done on the last song with Alvilda.
Mhm.
But as you've said in your episode, it's just songs and they happened.
Yeah.
And the lip sync happened. And then once
It did.
again, the exhaustion, obviously, but all queens in all seasons are exhausted, so that's no
Yeah.
excuse. But the exhaustion combined to the finale outfits that we had nothing else to wear. Literally, we
Yeah.
didn't have anything. We didn't plan on having to do two more lip syncs in an episode. Well, anyway, all of
Yeah.
that led to a strange choice of song and not caring.
I mean,
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, you made it to the finale of Drag Race Belgique. You were runner up in Drag Race Belgique, and a lot of queens would have loved to be in your position. You did a phenomenal job throughout the
Mhm.
Yeah.
season. Even with people when you didn't even think you deserved it, or when people want to get on the internet and say you didn't deserve it, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you won and you did it, and you were phenomenal, and you were fantastic, and you were kind throughout the entire season. Like this cast was so refreshing to watch. It was so nice and chill. And I think that's why production felt like they had to drum up drama where drama wasn't even there, because y'all were so nice and so kind and so sweet to each other that there was nothing for them to bring up that was, oh, this drama. They don't like each other. They're fighting. No, y'all were just so nice. And you know what? For me, I enjoy that. I'm not the one that like, oh, I need drama for good TV. Sometimes. But for this one, I felt it was very refreshing. It was easy to watch each week for me. I was just like, okay, Belgique is coming out. I know what I'm gonna watch, and it's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be clean. It's gonna be sweet. It's gonna be kind, and I enjoyed that so much. I enjoyed that
Yeah.
so much.
Mhm. Agreed. Can we fast forward to a couple weeks ago when all of you were gathered to watch the live finale or the live viewing of the finale, and what your thoughts were in this moment? We talked to Alvilda. She said she felt pretty confident that you were going to win the show. Where was your mind watching this? Yeah.
It's the old battle between Alvinda and I. You're gonna win, you're gonna win, you're gonna win, you're
Yep.
gonna win. I was 99% convinced that she was gonna snatch the crown. Because to me, she is the perfect drag race winner. She ticks all the boxes. She makes much more sense than my kooky kind of drag. As a drag race winner, she is the epitome of that. And it makes a lot more sense. Not that I don't have any reason to win. I mean, I'm bringing my own stuff to the table.
Mhm.
But she's perfect for such a show. I'm
Mhm.
just a bit too out of the box, and to me, she was all through the season. She was good. She's stamped on the season all season long. When we come out of filming, it was like Alvilla's gonna win. Before we got on season, I was like, if Alvilla's on it, she's gonna win. After
Mhm.
filming, I was certain she would. And every week during the season, I was like, she's gonna win. And I told her until the very last moment, and she kept on telling me it was not true. She's actually the most probably the only reason why I had doubts at some point, because she was so convinced. I was at some point a week before the finale. She was like, "I'm in mourning. I'm in mourning. I'm mourning my victory." I was like, "Are you kidding me? This is are you're already like what? You've decided that you've lost and you're mourning right now? This doesn't make any sense." Until the last minute, we were at the end of the day, we were the only two people from the season who didn't know. All the other girls, they were at peace with not winning, including
Yeah.
Lulu and Gabbana. They knew from the filming that they were not winners. The only two that didn't know were Alvilda and I. And honestly, and this is not Miss America kind of lovely speech, I'm extremely happy for her because she deserves it hands down. She, as I say, she makes more sense than I do. The only difference to me was the 20K. And and yeah, I would have loved to get the 20K, but the crown and the winner position don't change much to me. She's going to be an extremely nice and good queen, and I know that for a fact. And we go along so well. And when we combine, you haven't had the chance to see us together, but
No.
our drag is extremely complementary. And we are quite a powerhouse when we work together. And we've worked together a lot in the past that we've written shows like last Christmas we've written a show that went for 2 weeks, and we worked extremely well together. So I think we have big plans for the future. I'm extremely proud of her, knowing where she comes from, her lack of self-confidence and all of that. Like, I hope this teaches her to appreciate the amazing person that she is.
Absolutely.
And I'll be there to support her, and I'm too old to be a winner. So I'm
No,
completely
yeah.
at peace with everything. No, I'm
Well,
kidding. But
you would have been the same age as Sasha Colby when she won.
There we go.
true. No,
So,
I was obviously kidding.
of
There's
course.
no age limit
Of
to winning Drag Race,
Right.
and no, I have to say, in the last episode, um, I'm happy with what came out of my little moment with Rita, because I
Mhm.
feel that we kind of scratched the surface of my values and principles and the things that I defend in my daily drag. My whole talking about transmitting and knowledge and, you know, allowing yourself to have a drag that is intellectual and that is actually bringing stuff to the table, food for thoughts, queer history, all those kind of things that really are my roots and the reasons why I do what I do. I feel like in the last episode you kind of saw that.
Mhm.
That's the real and only moment that you can see that in the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that you have a point of view, and it's like, this is who I am. I am intellect, make you think kind of queen, and I love that because sometimes we don't. We watch entertainment not to think. And it's like, oh, I'm thinking about what
Hmm.
history, and but then we see somebody like you, and it's like, oh, well, what is this? What's this concept? Well, what does that mean? Now I have to go think about it and do some research on some stuff. And I appreciated that, especially as I'm a history buff, so I love having to think about history and going back in history and like, oh, okay, I get this historical reference. So I, for one, love it. I appreciate it. And I am so happy that you were on our screen so we could think about things. And we have to think
Please.
about it when it comes to your drag. And I hope you never change because
Yes.
it's phenomenal drag. Period.
I don't plan on changing anytime soon, and I agree with you. And I think that the secret really is in finding the right balance when you can
Yeah.
combine the entertainment and then just infuse the right amount of intellect and
Mhm.
the push on that little button that you didn't know was there. And once I've pushed it, then you know, and boom, you have something to think about.
Absolutely.
That's what I aim to do. Entertain cleverly.
Makes
Absolutely.
sense.
And I think that's the perfect way to just
Well, we
wrap.
do have one quick fan
Oh,
question.
we have a fan question. I forgot
We
about the fan.
do. We have a
Mhm.
fan question from Alvilda. She would like to
I
know.
knew she was going to write.
She would like to know if you're going to try to pull a Coco Montrese with her, and she sent this picture. That is your face on Coco Montrese's face after she took the crown from Alyssa Edwards.
First of all, uh, I'm never going to look that brown because
Okay,
this is
good.
extremely
I,
problematic.
I'm happy to hear that. Yes.
Yes.
That's never going to happen. And for the record, I don't need that crown. It's hideous. It's very heavy. And I cannot even sell it. So no, you can keep it. The only thing I would love to get is the fucking scepter because I had to make one for myself for my act that I'm doing tomorrow. So please, if you can just lend me that scepter that looks much better than mine, I can pull a half Kokomon trees on you and just get the scepter.
Work.
Great.
I would love that. Honestly. That's brilliant. Would
Just
you
one
do
more
this?
jump scare. Ah.
Jesus Christ.
Would you do Drag Race again if they call? That is the question we ask everybody. Would you do it again? If not right away, we'll give you some time to step away from. Would you do it again?
I guess it would depends on the conditions in terms of where would that be and against whom. Um,
Mhm.
if they kind of did a European All Stars or like French speaking kind of All Stars, I'm scared of the big machine that is the US franchise or the versus the world, and uh, I my gut feeling is that I don't have the right kind of drag for that. Not that any kind of drag is more valid than others, but we're talking about a very specific format. It
Yes.
was okay to do Belgique because we're different. That sounds bad.
No, it's true. You're a different breed, and we love it.
It's the different little children from Belgium. This is us. Um, we're not allowed to say that, but you catch my drift. Well,
Yes.
no, I'm afraid of. I think I would just stumble and fall if I was going against those big powerhouses from the US. I'm not even sure I would have fun. Um, I'm really curious if they were to call. I think I would most probably be okay with some European something, but the biggest franchises I would think twice because I wouldn't want to make a fool of myself. But do I
Mhm.
Mhm.
have what it takes in terms of, fashion sense, drag fashion sense, drag shenanigans of I don't know, the attitude, the general vibe.
Mhm.
I'm my own kind of person and my own kind of career, and I'm good at what I do, but what I do also works in a not exactly standard way for not exactly standard audiences.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would take that risk,
Mhm.
or at
Yeah.
least not for the biggest franchises, that for sure.
That makes sense.
Understood. Understood.
Yeah.
I mean, I just wanted to know. Just wanted to know.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
well, there you go.
yeah,
Mhm.
we've held you up as long as we could, longer than we should have probably. But we did it, and we appreciate you for spending
Yeah.
this 2.5 hours with us because
You
we
don't want to
don't.
go till
Delighted.
3 a.m.?
I mean, I know it's early in the morning for you, and we shouldn't have held you this long, but we did, and we appreciate you for just sticking around and talking with us this whole time. It's
And
been
it happened because I was having fun.
It
Because
is.
I love.
And you are officially the longest interview we've had of you and your season sisters. So
Or you have the honor.
And I wish, I mean, if you let me go, I still have plenty of things to say.
well, then we will just have to have you back to talk
Absolutely.
more things. Drag
We want a
Race.
reunion. We want so we've
Right.
had 4 of you. We just need to have all of you together and just have a reunion on here.
Okay, good.
Look, if we can
Well,
get
if you
all
have 3 days, you can let us speak. Yeah, we're just gonna
Great.
go.
That's fine. We'll keep it
We'll-
rolling for as long as we need to.
absolutely. We need more
Let's
content on
do it
this
quick
channel.
because Gabana cannot sing at the moment, so let's take advantage of that.
Oh no.
And on that note,
I'm gonna say thank you all for watching. We appreciate you. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell on your way out. Do all the things. Follow all of the channels. We have 4 of them, so follow all of them: the TV, the pod, the ESC, the ringside. Follow them all. Hit the bells. Follow us on our socials at the Cut Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also follow us. You see it's scrolling. Follow Veuve on Instagram. Follow Veuve on Twitter. Follow all the socials. And be kind, because that's what we do here. We are kind people. Be kind to people. Queens, your local queens. Go to a drag show if you have never been before you start typing on the keyboard. And get your cup merch, period. You know, if you wanna, when LaBev starts selling merch, we go put that up there too.
Yes.
And yeah, we're gonna get out of here. So bye.
Bye.
cheers.
Bye. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Goodbye.
Bye.